Okay, we're ready to go for Spanish Fork City Council meeting, January 20th, 2026. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in person and online. The Euler family's here. That's good.
Yeah,
Makes a better council meeting. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll get started like we always do with a prayer motivational message. Councilman Cardin has that assignment, and then Councilman Took will lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. And Jack has said that he would say it for us. So, Jack, I'll turn to you.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered together this evening to discuss the affairs of Spanish Fork City. We're so thankful for this community that we live and work in. We're very thankful for all of the wonderful members of the community who serve and who are good neighbors and who help this be such a wonderful place to live. We're so grateful for thy hand and for all of the many ways that we're guided and helped in our lives, the ways that we see and the ways that we don't. We pray that thou will bless us this evening as we continue to discuss the concerns and solutions and different things on the agenda tonight, that thou will inspire the council and help the council to make decisions that will be for the betterment of the community. And we pray that thou will watch over those in the community who are in particular need, that they can be helped and blessed. We pray that thou will continue to bless this great city, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and repeat after me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bless you.
Okay, before we get to the rest of our agenda for the evening, we have a oath of office to take place. Tara took care of a couple of these for us 2 weeks ago. Councilman Euler was out of town, and now it's his turn.
Meet you down there, Tara?
Yeah, come on down. Just a reminder for the public that the oath of office is a public commitment and a constitutional requirement for the state of Utah.
So even if he thought he could get out of this, he can't. Okay.
I state your name,
I, Kevin Euler,
having been elected
having been elected
to the office
to the office
of Spanish Fork Councilman,
of Spanish Fork Councilman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Utah,
of the state of Utah,
and that I will discharge my duties
and that I will discharge my duties
with fidelity.
with fidelity. Thank you.
Grandma, Grandpa, too? Generation 2?
Yeah.
I think with you guys, we were out of the picture.
Did you move? We moved.
So move those chairs too.
Come on up,
Remember chairs.
That's what it looks good.
We were not in it, and then Seth was so good.
Awesome, thank you.
There, Susan. There you go.
It's a quiet
Thank you.
group over there.
Thank you, Kevin.
No, just tonight, because Shane.
Maybe it's been 2 years.
Susan, anything you want to say while you're here?
Mayor, tell us. We can switch
Get
around.
me home.
Take you.
No, I'm proud of all of you. You all worked really hard, and I know the
You need
hours.
to say
you
that in
put
the
in.
microphone.
And your address and your
Yeah.
phone number.
Your reason for being here.
Seth, anything you want to say while your predecessors in the room? You don't always get those opportunities.
Wow, well, my predecessors in the room.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 10 years since Dave retired. That's kind of a fun little fact that I don't know if it's gone quickly for you, Dave, but that 10 years has moved.
I'm proud of us. We haven't blown up the city, Dave. I mean, the whole city, just pieces of it.
Just the airport. The other fire, that was in the canyon, so that
Oh,
wasn't.
they're just minor
yeah.
fires.
I think your wife is nudging you to come up to the microphone. You should probably listen to Susan.
Come on, Dave. Come on, Dave.
Oh.
Come on up.
She said, "Oh my word, get me out of here! I'm so embarrassed."
After 10 years, you lose a lot of your hearing, so.
I was saying it's gone really fast, and I don't know if your experience as being the city manager, like time seems like it has sped up for me, and I don't know if that was the case for you, but maybe on nights like tonight, it seems like time slows down. But council
Well,
meeting, but
It definitely goes fast the older you get, so. It's 10 years ago, what, in 2 weeks? That
yeah.
I hung up the hat and turned it over to you.
I've said this in many different circles, and I think it's worth repeating here. There's a lot of really, really good things about Spanish Fork, and those things are at this point, many of them are deeply entrenched in who we are, like SFCN, right? That wonderful utility. Even PI, people might say like, "Ugh, I don't like PI," but 20 years later, the state has started forcing every city to do what we did 25 years ago. And it cost us maybe a tenth of what it's costing all of them, right? And so just so many wonderful things that Dave did during his tenure. And if you look around town and if you ever say anything like, "Oh, I really like that thing," whatever that thing might be, I'm pretty certain that Dave Weather's fingerprints are somewhere on that thing. And he'll be quick to say, "But lots of other people," and he's not wrong. There were lots of other people involved in those things. But if you like it, the chances are Dave Weather's fingerprints are on it. And he was a part of making that good thing a part of our community. So we're grateful for Dave.
Thank you, Seth. We had a great staff, great elected officials for the last 50 years, and it's been fun and enjoyable to sit on the sidelines and watch things grow and progress, and just want to let you guys know what a great job you're all doing. As elected officials, I've seen a few mayors and city councilmen through the years, and you guys are doing an excellent job. There's always difficult decisions, difficult issues that you deal with, and I hope that the citizenry understands that you guys have a hard job and that you're doing a great job in carrying out, as Kevin was sworn in carrying out your constitutional duties to accomplish the good things that are happening here in the city today. So thanks for the opportunity to say a few words, and it's been enjoyable 10 years to sit back and watch things grow and progress. And thanks, Seth, for your kind words.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Your turn? Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah.
I forgot something really important. Somebody else, let's see if I can flip this around,
Cute. Thanks, AI.
wants to say something. Can you see him?
It's my missionary.
Oh, let's see if I can turn it up.
So
Hold
I've
on.
got my son that's up in Tacoma, Washington right now.
Okay, can you see him, Dylan? Why is it not working? I can't.
What's
Oh,
this?
hold on. I got you on. Can you hear it now? Speak now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dylan.
I love you tons.
Love you too. Hope you're having a good P-Day.
Oh, I'm having a great P-Day. I miss you. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to be here for it.
For sure. Love you so much.
Love you.
That's awesome.
I thought Angela was going to say something.
I did too, and she walks away.
He's done? Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. I concur with what Seth said. There's a lot of Oiler touches around this city, and it's neat to see. And it's neat to see that that's extended through Councilman Euler now. And I know when I've talked to Kevin before that Mayor Leifson said when I came into this office, that just don't screw it up. And I think Kevin has heard the same thing from his dad before. Now, don't screw it up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence in us.
So, thank you for that. That's good evening for the Euler family, and good to have you back in the council chambers and go over some of that history. It's good stuff.
Susan didn't want to say anything? Oh, thank you.
Anything you want to say before council comments comes to you?
Just appreciate working with each of you, city staff. It's an honor to be elected and be able to serve the people of Spanish Fork. We live in a great community. I know there's always things to do better, to improve upon, but in general, Spanish Fork's a great place to live.
Good stuff. Okay, that takes care of the first part of our agenda. Now it's to public comments. Anybody from the public that would like to get up and address the mayor and council, you're free to do so. Jack gets us a 3-minute timer up there so we can try to stick to agenda items we have. But if anybody would like to come up and address the public, yes, please state your name so we get who you are on the record, and Tara will get that.
My name is Rilla Hawkins, and I'm an old-time Spanish Forker. I knew Landon when he was a little kid. And Corey Mendenhall was a little dumb band student.
Yeah.
My name is Rilla Hawkins, and I'm here to represent the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers, DUP. So, do you know how it works, DUP? So we're all in we're camps. These are all our camps. There's 17 camps here in Spanish Fork, and we meet once a month, and then the whole group is called a company. So the president of our company is Janice right now, and then I'm vice president, and I'll be president next year. Each month we meet and we do a lesson. This is from ISDUP in Salt Lake, and it we do a lesson every month and talk about what we're doing, what our history is of Utah, and go all over. There's also, here in Spanish Fork, area markers and monuments we've all noted, and we keep track of those. You can go there and we keep them up to date. First of all, on the agenda, I know I only have 3 minutes. I want to thank you for all that you do for us. It's a beautiful cemetery spot up on the east. Have you been up there and looked and how beautiful? It's the best location to think, and we decorate it for holidays and stuff. The markers, and we have a museum here in town that is this big when we have this much stuff. We are renting a storage unit, and people keep giving us stuff to put in it, and we can't display it. There's wall-to-wall pictures, artifacts, and so here as a DUP, I'm here to see what you can do or what we can do together to figure out where we can go, what we can do, how we can enlarge our space. We have more things than we can deal with, but we don't want to be forgotten. Don't just tear us down and say, yeah, go in a storage unit. You're all old-time Spanish Forkers, just like us. You all have old family here, and we don't want to forget. And we want the school kids to come and take tours through and learn about things. And that's my 3 minutes are up. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Rilla?
So we're going to keep talking to you, and maybe we need to be on a committee to help you find a place for us or whatever options are open, but don't forget about the museum and DUP. Okay?
Thank you, Rilla.
Thanks,
Appreciate that. Thanks for coming. Anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council? I wouldn't want to follow Rilla either. That was good. Okay, seeing none, that'll take us to council comments. We'll start, since you changed seats on me, we get to start with you. And we'll start with Councilman Cardin and work this way to Councilman Took.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have a couple of things on the docket tonight. The first is this last week, a few of us, I'm sure there was a couple more people who will talk about it, had the opportunity to speak at the Spanish Fork Junior High School to speak to the junior high kids about Spanish Fork and what city councils actually do. And it's always fun to try and find, just something to get their attention. And Corey, this is for you. Their favorite stat or thing that I shared was that the highest influx of wastewater is always during halftime at the Super Bowl. That's their favorite fact. So if they remembered anything else, I don't know. That's the only thing that they could tell me after. Next, today was the start of the legislative session on the Hill. Tomorrow is Local Officials Day, so a few of us, or most of us, will be up there with our youth city council. Again, you're going to start seeing, the first couple weeks are a little bit slow usually with the legislative session. You don't hear a lot about what's happening. Slow is relative, Seth. I know you perked right up.
No, you're exactly right.
It is slow, but you'll start hearing bills and bill numbers and different things like that happen. Please make sure your voice is heard. Reach out to representatives. If you have questions, we're always available. Sometimes we don't know the answers, but we can hopefully help or point you in the right direction of who can help with those things. And then last is this Saturday. I'm just pulling it up so I don't get the time incorrect. At 8:30, we will have what we're calling a midwinter airport breakfast, and it's a question and answer, and that'll actually be down at the Fit City Center. The purpose of this is to kind of talk about, there's been some comments or different things that are out there, maybe some, I don't want to say just misalignment, that's probably the best word, but we're there to clear that up. So if you can be there Saturday at 8:30 a.m., there will be breakfast, and then also our city manager, our public works director, our airport director, Councilwoman Beck, and myself will be down there. Just please come with your questions about the airport and how we can help and make sure that we have all the information we need. That's all I have, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman Cardin. Councilwoman Beck.
Well, Councilman, I wish I would have remembered that stat to share. I just told them that we're cleaning it so well down there at the water reclamation facility they could drink it. None of them sounded interested in trying that, and I told them we wouldn't make them. Two things I want to share. We, as a Fiesta Days Committee, extended the opportunity for Dwight and Brenda Lydiard to be our 2026 Fiesta Days Grand Marshals. And you guys all know Dwight and Brenda, of course, and the Oilers, I sat in their family room a couple years ago to extend that invite to them. And I will say it's one of my favorite things to do as a councilwoman because everyone is so honored and humbled. And Brenda said, I was hoping you weren't coming to ask me to oversee the parade. So with people that have served their community for decades and they get a call from me and saying, hey, can I come and visit you? I think they're just automatically thinking, what is she going to ask of us? What does she want us to do? How big of a commitment is this? Can I say no? And so when we ask them to be our Grand Marshals, tears are usually shed. And are you sure? Let me tell you who else is better every year. So both Dwight and Brenda are rock stars in their own right. And we're excited to just support them and let them shine this year and kind of show off to the community who they are. And then, the other thing is I am the library board, and I just wanted to share the statistics with the residents that our library checked out the most items ever. It was over 700,000. And every year when we get these stats that just keep climbing, it just reminds me of the people years ago when we were debating whether or not to move from the old library over here, and people would approach us and say, are people really reading books though? People are everyone's just listening or reading a Kindle. And true, we do have Libby, and the downloads from Libby go towards these checkouts, but our library is busy. And if you have a family or a young mom, there's so many things for kids to do, but then after school activities for our tweens and teens, and then a lot of things for adults. Come learn something new. So you can just hop on the website to check out all of the things, opportunities for activities here at the library. That's all I have.
Very good stuff. Thank you, Councilwoman Beck. Councilman Euler.
Thank you, Mayor. As Councilman Cardin mentioned, a few of us had the chance to go talk to some 8th graders and visit with their history class and talk to them about the role of local government and how it affects them in their lives. One thing I did a little differently this time than what I normally do is I asked for 6 volunteers from each of the classes that I attended and had them come up, and I appointed one of them mayor and 5 council members, and we did a little scenario where I said the city came across an extra $500,000 in the budget, and you've got 3 choices on how to spend it. You can increase the salary for our police officers, you can put in some major improvements to a skate park and expand and make it a little larger, or you can spend $500,000 on road improvements and make traffic a little easier to get from one place to the next. Not a single, and then what we did was I let the rest of the students be the residents of Spanish Fork, and they got up and they addressed the council and the mayor, and they explained why they thought one thing was better than the other. Not a single one of them thought road improvements were needed, probably because they're not drivers yet. They could care less. But of all of the votes that went in, Chief Johnson, you'd be happy to know that every single one of them voted for police salary increases. They recognize the importance of our police officers, what they do for our community, and the importance of making sure they're taken care of. So I thought that was really cool that our young 8th graders saw that. So that was a fun activity. Another thing that I was able to do this year, the chamber, when they moved buildings, they brought over a bunch of boxes of old documents. And so I've been going through those the last week, digitizing some of these. And I found the meeting minutes from the 1986 chamber board meeting that they held. A couple of interesting things from 40 years ago. My dad was appointed in January of '86 to be the first liaison between the city and the chamber. So he started attending chamber meetings and reporting on what the city was doing. Dell, one thing you would find interesting is one of the things that my dad reported on to the chamber was the golf course revenue for the year 1985. The golf course brought in a whopping $15,000 that year. Can you remind us real quick, how did the golf course do this year?
The golf course profit was $1 million.
So $1 million this last year compared to $15,000 40 years ago. So city's growing, city's doing great. People apparently love to golf, but thought that was kind of a fun little history lesson that I came across this past week and just wanted to share it with everybody. That's all I've got, Mayor.
I tell you what, I saw that post that the 86 board members, and that was fun to go through that, and sent that to my brother, whose his mother-in-law was on the board back then, Marcia Lauder, and boy, some other familiar faces and stuff. It was fun.
We had 16 places we could choose from to go and eat in Spanish Fork back in 1986. Only 16.
That even sounds like a lot after living in 86.
Right?
I think we had 3.
So yeah, it was fun to look at that and see how things have changed over 40 years.
KFC was the only chicken place.
It was the only chicken place back then.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that, Councilman Euler. Councilman Took.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And good evening, Spanish Fork. Great to see so many of you here tonight, so many friendly faces. Just a couple things from me this evening, on the coattails of those who were able to present at Spanish Fork Junior High School. I was also able to teach a couple classes, and I just love working with the youth. I was doing great until I looked down and saw the mayor's daughter sitting on the front row. And I knew, it sounds like she told you. Then I got really nervous. No, it turned out well. She was cute and we had a good time. But lots of kids, and it's so funny, the chicken conversation. Even though we have so many options in town, the number one request from at least my students was Cane's chicken. We need a Cane's chicken. So they're so funny. But I had a great time. So wonderful opportunity. Also, I wanted to say thank you, Chief Johnson, for an amazing police awards banquet, for incorporating us and inviting us, and recognizing so many amazing officers on your force. That was also something we were able to, some of us participated in, and just I look forward to that every single year. From the Chamber of Commerce, a couple updates this evening. So I went to what was the best I've seen so far, a new network lunch this last week. It was also a amazing ribbon cutting / grand opening for a new business in town, located just east of the airport, east and a little bit south, called Bonsai Flooring. And this couple, they are amazing. They cooked the food that they served, and they had a drawing and prizes and swag bags and all these amazing things. They just really want to succeed and thrive in Spanish Fork. And so if you have any flooring needs, boy, I'll tell you what, check out Bonsai Flooring. They've joined the Chamber of Commerce. They come to all the events, and just really impressed with their energy they're bringing to the business community in Spanish Fork. And it's great to have those type of folks join our business community. So really enjoyed that. Bonsai Flooring. Also, we have a celebration tomorrow for the business of the month. Tomorrow at noon, it will be Gordon's Ace Hardware. So new ownership by the Gordons. So it's exciting. I think they're going to do really well taking that over. And then a couple last things here. So on the 26th, so next week is the Chamber of Commerce's annual gala. It's at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Mavi Center here in town. If you're able to go, you'd like to go, let me know. 6:30 p.m. is when dinner will be served. And then the last two items are on the 31st of this month, and then also on February 28th, we have Bills and Bagels at the Nebo School District building here in town, and that's at 7:30 a.m. It's really, I know it's early, but it's really a good time. So if you want to know we talked earlier about the legislative session that's kicking off tomorrow, or kicked off today. They talk a lot about those things and decisions and important things that matter to us. Have an impact on our life. So that's all I've got for this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you all council members for attending your meetings and reporting back to the public about what's going on. My only item tonight is a issue with the Fit City Center. I haven't prepped Dale for this, so this is coming a little off the cuff. I apologize, Dale, but you're going to have to do something about this. Last night I took 2 9-year-olds to swim and tried to get them out after 2 hours of swimming. That didn't work. They needed to hit the 3-hour mark of swimming. And I think it's up to you and your people to remind parents that aren't used to this yet that once you come home in a wet towel, you've got to get that out of the vehicle before you get in the vehicle the next morning. I got in the truck this morning. It was fogged up from the inside. The smell was of a moldy towel, a wet towel, and I had to drive to work with my windows down, Dale, so I could make it. And I think that's the responsibility of the Fit City Center. Maybe some, I don't know, some air fresheners that you could get that says, hey, remember, take your towels out. Or, remove your towel, please. Something. Because, oh my gosh. But we had a great time. Everybody's having a great time down there. Thanks for, I don't know if it's in part of the staff reports, but thank you so much for you and your staff working and taking input from all the residents and really being amicable to everybody that's coming in and having suggestions. I just think it's a great interaction from the public to government, if you will, that really working good. So, okay, that's all I have. Manager Perrins, any staff reports?
Just two brief comments. Number one, reminder: not this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, contrary to an overeager posting in a Friday memo. Next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have our work session, that 3-day marathon work session for the mayor and council and department heads we're looking forward to that. And then I had just following up to Rilla's comments, had a wonderful conversation with Rilla on Friday about a lot of things that she talked about today, and my compliments to Rilla. I think, when you have conversations about these kinds of topics, there can be a lot of wonder, a lot of worry, a lot of perhaps even innuendo, right? As people hear things and say things, and I found as I chatted with Rilla that she was extremely insightful and thoughtful, and as I was talking with her about this issue or that issue, she would quite often kind of jump me in, well, that's a concern for this reason or that reason. It was just so wonderful, and I hung up. I didn't tell you this, Rilla, but I hung up with her, and I'm like, man, I wish I had more conversations like that, because it was super productive, I thought, and hopefully it was on her end as well. So I appreciated that conversation that I got to have with you, Rilla, and the thoughtful approach you had to the challenge that you were talking about today. So thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that update. Any other staff reports from that? Okay. Perfect. Takes us to our consent item section of our agenda. There's A through D here on consent items. Is there any questions that the council has of any of those items? If there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
I move to approve the consent items A through D.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin, second by Councilwoman Beck. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Consent items are approved, and takes us to new business. There's A through D here. First one is the ordinance for the Swenson zone change.
I won't take more than 30 seconds for this one, since I know you guys already looked at this last month. So here's like a quick refresher, I guess, on it. So the Swenson zone map amendment is located over on near SR 77, kind of in the north part of the community. It was recently annexed last year in the Rail and Swenson annexation. It's about 64 acres, and was assigned RR rural residential at the time of zoning. The applicant is requesting now I-1 light industrial zoning be assigned to the property. Currently, the general plan has it designated as agricultural, but based off conversations we've had with you guys, that potentially will be industrial when the general plan is updated. Still pending, obviously. As Dave mentioned also in last month's meeting, we would consider this property to definitely be in the path of industrial development, with lots of other massive industrial projects going on in the area. So zoning this I-1 light industrial doesn't feel like it would have any adverse impacts on the property. This item was continued last month because of the power issue. It has since been resolved. The city has secured a 1.5 acre substation on the property, so the power issue is now no longer. This site and adjacent sites can now be served with power. Also, this was a public hearing last month, which, and Vaughn, correct me if I'm wrong, we fulfilled the public hearing requirement. So even though this is a zone change, we don't have to have another public hearing tonight if you don't see fit. But that's where it stands today. No real big changes except for the power is now resolved. Perfect. Any questions about that?
Question for Ian on this one?
That was the concern.
No? Good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't think an applicant's here or anything that would like to speak or anything. Excuse me, there is an applicant here.
Hi, Council. Thank you for having us. We've been here before. Caden Cole with the developer and the owner. Like Ian had said, we solved the power issue. So that was really the only, that and some agricultural questions, which I think Councilman Euler was able to talk to some of the members. And anyways, just appreciate to be here. And I don't know if you have any questions for me, but.
Questions for Mr. Cole?
Okay, thank you.
For being here. Thank you. If there's no questions for the applicant or staff, I'd entertain a motion on item A.
I move to approve the ordinance for the Swenson property zone change based on the following findings. Number one, the properties in the immediate vicinity have already developed in the Industrial 1 zone. Number two, that the plan exists for other properties in the area to develop in the Industrial 1 zone. And number three, that zoning the property I-1 light industrial at this time will not have adverse effects on the future development of this or surrounding properties.
Motion made by Councilman Took.
Second.
A second by Councilman Euler. A roll call vote here. Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Item A is approved. Takes us to B, Station 61, presentation. Manager Perrins coming off the dais. It's kind of like out of the bullpen, just not as athletic.
There's lots of
Not that he's not athletic. It's just the general.
Let's go ahead and reset that. We're going to have a. Can I get my walk-up music? I'm going to go back. Get my walk-up music, please.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have it. Definitely be elevator.
It's Wild Thing from.
It's at least something.
That one.
All right, thanks,
Major
Mr.
League.
Mayor, Council. We've got we have an all-star cast today. We've brought a number of people here, so I'll introduce them. Well, let me introduce the topic, then I'll introduce these folks. Today, we're going to talk about Station 61 and review a number of key decisions and discussions that we have had over the last year almost as we've been discussing this topic. And most of the time, the discussions that we're having are not in a council setting like this. And so a lot of times the public may wonder, well, we don't know what decisions you've made nor why you've made those. And so today we plan on reviewing a number of those discussions that we've had. Again, some in work sessions here, some in work sessions at Station 61. And some of you will recall a public open house that we had last summer at Station 61 as well. And so today we'll touch on these high-level decisions that we've made or that we have discussed and then look for some feedback and even emotion from you tonight as we finish. First would be to build Station 61 on the 200 West block of between Center and First South. That's specifically an area where you would know the senior center to be. And we'll talk about the background of that decision and that specific decision would have apparatus accessing 200 West with intersection access to Center Street and First South at intersections rather than mid-block on Main Street, and that we would construct a firehouse with fire and EMS administration. We have here Heber Slabbert from AJC Architects. We've got Matt Romero, who's our project manager and over this project, and then Eddie Hales, our fire chief, all of whom are experts in what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share just one more slide, and then I'm going to step down, and Eddie and Heber or Matt, in some form and fashion, will get up and kind of walk through a lot of these, and then I'll come up towards the end and talk about some of the finances. Today, though, we're going to talk about, we're going to review Station 61 at where it is and an analysis of that site and some of the things that went into the decision of considering a different location. We'll review the concept of a retrofit. Some might call that a remodel. That's not at all what we're talking about with this, because it's not a remodel. You're usually building within the same footprint, right? And the footprint isn't big enough to do what is needed for today's operation. So we'd call this a retrofit versus a rebuild, and why we propose that we have a rebuild in a different location. Then following that, a location review and some of the challenges with the current site and some of the advantages of the new site, and then advantages of a new building. So that's high level where we'd like to go with this. As we're talking through this, you probably have heard most everything that we're going to talk about today. But perhaps you have heard questions from the public about something that we're talking about. So if, as we're talking, if Eddie or I or Heber or Matt are saying something and that causes you to remember something that's been asked, and we don't answer that question, perhaps indirectly through the comments that we have, pause us, please. Ask those questions. We want to make sure that where we're talking about it, we can answer those. If we know, that's going to be 2 or 3 slides down the road, we might tell you to pause on that. But don't let that keep you from asking. Like we genuinely want to make sure that if there are questions that you're hearing, we want to make sure that we answer those. We have tried through this presentation to capture all of the questions that we know that we have heard. but that doesn't mean that we've got them all. So if you have questions, please stop us. And with that, we're going to jump to Eddie.
Little game of popcorn up and down. Thanks for having us. And one of the big topics of concern about Station 61, where it currently sits, is the ability to exit safely onto Main Street. With the high flow of traffic that's on that roadway, it's obviously a constraint that we have to get emergency apparatus in and out of there safely. The UDOT data currently shows average daily trips more than doubling on Main Street from 1996 to 2024. And even with the upgrades, Main Street access is the new upgrades that are coming with the UDOT upgrades. That way, they're still going to continue to put constraints on, potentially blocking us from being able to turn left out of the station, having to go down a block and around the block to be able to get out and then go left southbound on the main. So this video that's up next is big white button, and I probably screwed it up. There we go. So this video, we put some cameras on our apparatus to get a feel for what our folks are going out onto Main Street in. Now, this is just a compilation of videos, and each one of these videos, you'll see that the vehicles are going to true emergencies in these circumstances. So their lights are on, they're coming out of the bay, and they're engaging their siren, and this gives you an opportunity to see what traffic does today for our staff and what we experience. So lights are on. There's no brake there to let us to go out. This call is going to turn left. They need to turn left at 400 North. They can't get across, so they've got to go right of traffic, which is super dangerous when your emergency lights are on. And then they're looking to try to turn left there, and obviously you saw that constraint. Nighttime, visibility is low. Coming across, left-hand turn out onto traffic, into the turn lane, and then moving over into traffic. That's obviously a dangerous move. Apparatus now here exiting. It's very snowy, but also you got traffic coming southbound that you've got to adhere to as well. And then this one is quite interesting to me. So lights are on the fire engine, and they're trying to go out, and these trucks and vehicles just keep coming. And you'll see they sit there, and they sit there. Still no stop in traffic. Still no stop in traffic. And then this Jeep is generous enough to say, oh, we're going to stop and let you cross. So now they're moving. Now they've got to cross into southbound traffic, which may or may not see them, which is a huge constraint, very unsafe at different times of the day. So that's a little compilation of what we experience on the day-to-day to get out onto Main Street, especially at high peak times. And we all know when those high peak times are if you've driven our streets here in Spanish Fork. So I'll turn the time over to Heber on this next slide. He'll talk about the site review of our current station, and then I'll be back up. Big button.
Big white button. Oh, there's another video here, Chief. That's fancy.
This is just 20 seconds overhead, but the next slide will show just a still if you want that.
So when we design Heber Slabbert with HAC Architects, I'm the lead designer on this project. When we look at sites for potential fire stations, there's three things we look for as priorities for what we consider responsible fire station design. The first is operationally, how effective is it at meeting the needs for a modern station in response times and safety of the crew? Secondly, does the site and building lend to firefighter health and safety for first responders? And then thirdly, how efficient is it to build at that location on a dollar per foot value? As we looked at the Main Street location, there's a couple constraints that we're faced with. The first is your apparatus bay is one of the most expensive parts of a fire station just because of its large spans and the structural complexity of that space and all of the equipment that goes in there to scrub the air and support the vehicles. In this location, that apparatus bay is right up on Main Street. Typically, at a minimum, we like that to be 65 feet away from the street to allow an apparatus to come out, for the doors to fully close, and then to make an exit from the property. The first challenge here is we're something like 30 feet, about half that distance in the current configuration. So to retrofit would mean having to tear down or pull back that station, those apparatus bays, and move them to a safe distance back. The second is there's overhead power lines. You can see the shadows of them kind of running down the middle of the site. Those have setbacks and easements around them that limit how big or where we can build and how high we can build. In proximity to that, apparatus bays are usually pretty tall, and those two easements were fighting against each other. The new footprint for this building, to meet its projected needs, is almost double the size of the current location, which, as you can see, the further and further you go back, you're going to be crossing those lines. The third challenge is, in that bottom corner there, is a not active well. Currently, it has the ability to be active, but in order for us to build, we would need to build over it, which means capping and structurally filling the well, which I don't like having a giant water well under the corner of a fire station. And so there's cost and complexity that comes with that. And then there's, as I mentioned, vertical expansion. One of the other challenges is because we're so close to neighboring buildings and because we almost need to build to a zero lot line condition, the cost per square foot to build increases because we have to cut straight down and put in shoring, is what it's called, which is a very complex system for holding earth back without disturbing your neighbors. So just these four factors alone make this a problematic location for a fire station build.
So currently at our station, one of the biggest things that we face is the ability to have good working conditions for our firefighters. This fire station was designed as a volunteer fire station. I like to explain a station versus a firehouse, as a fire station is designed to house fire apparatus and EMS apparatus. A firehouse is to house not only fire apparatus in the bay, but also to house firefighters in a normal living condition. And this firehouse was not designed for that. It was designed for volunteer fire service to house apparatus and have firefighters come from their homes where they live to the location, get their apparatus, and then go. Well, today we have full-time firefighters, and to be able to staff that fire station appropriately, we had to bring in 2 mobile homes. Currently today, out of that fire station, there's 7 people staffed. 6 of those individuals are staffed out of a single wide mobile home that has 3 rooms, a very small kitchen, and some very small bathrooms, very small rooms as well. And so 3 of them are in each section, and then a 7th, our fire captain, is in an office that we converted to a bedroom. So that individual is living in a office space, and then actually has to go out to the bay into a shower room that was designed for decon to use for showering, and then into a separate bathroom just to even prepare for himself or herself for the day. So living conditions are very unideal for a firehouse. You can see that the age of our HVAC system is declining. That's going to all need to be upgraded and have filtrations and those things that make that environment more suitable for the firefighters. This hose represents what our firefighters do on a daily or a weekly basis on Monday mornings. We've had a sewer issue there at our current station that there's a dip in the sewer line, and it forces all of the sewer back from 4th North back towards us and floods our current station. If we don't go out there and force through the clean out with a fire hose every Monday to force that water and flush that sewer line. So our firefighters are currently doing that just so that we don't flood our fire station today on a weekly basis with a fire hose to get everything flushed to the 400 North. As you can see, storage space in this station is well exceeded, forcing storage components out into the bay, which is not ideal for safety conditions. We have a converted lobby area that's converted now into a workstation for 7 of our firefighters to share a computer to come back and do their reports in a lobby that was not designed for or conducive for actual firefighter reporting. This is a picture of one of our single wides that you can see here. Space is really tight in a single wide. If you've never been in one, I would encourage you, if you want to get that feel of enclosed quarters, to go visit one. You're welcome to come and visit one. I know our council has. And to fit 3 firefighters, men and women in there on a daily basis, 24/7, 365, is really not ideal for them. So that just shows a little bit of their current circumstances and the need for us to increase that health and safety for our firefighters into a firehouse and not a fire station.
As we look at the pros and cons between the two sites, one of the biggest challenges faced by the retrofit, as we're calling it, is in order for this location to work, we'd need to move the fire crew out of this location. There's not an option where they can still operate out of this location, which would mean adding the cost to the project for this location for a temporary fire station somewhere else. There are systems that you can purchase. Land would need to be developed for a period of approximately 2 years during construction and design when we initially looked at this. And that cost obviously is exclusive to the retrofit model and would not be included in the rebuild. And then also, if you just compare apples to apples, a rebuild site, if we find the right site, would mean we could also avoid the expenses of capping the pump house and the well below, as well as the shoring and costly excavation approach, which would get you the same square footage at a higher dollar per square foot without those factors included. There are 3 other considerations that we looked at as a team. Obviously, with the relocation, it not only adds cost to the project, but temporary locations are not ideal for operations. We don't know where that location would be and how that would impact response times because one has not been identified yet. And then also the ISO ratings or ratings to meet modern fire stations continually are being updated. And as of recently, you also have to provide heated outdoor, or you can't just store vehicles in an outdoor location. So now for temporary locations, apparatus have to be stored in a heated temporary structure, which makes them more expensive than in the past. The second is that when you talk about response times, when I mentioned we designed for operations, even if we could get the 65 feet in front of the apparatus bay, which is possible by tearing and moving it back, there's nothing that slows a response down more than an incident. Hitting an apparatus takes your response time from minutes to whatever the result of that is. So there's concerns with still pulling out to Main Street, even if we could extend the apron, what we call the apron for the apparatus to pull out on. And then some of the discussion that has occurred as far as, is there a better land use for that location as we consider alternates? Should a rebuild be approved as an option? Okay. So you.
So why the 200 West site? So a couple of years ago, we had a outside agency come and do a 15-year master plan study. And part of that master plan study was to look at locations for future firehouses in the city of Spanish Fork based on growth projection. And one of the sites was to keep it at the 370 North Main Street location, if we could make that work. And the second location, to maintain the downtown response and the geographical area that Station 61 responds to, was actually down near the City Hall. And so it was to either look for land to purchase to rebuild the fire station in this area, or to utilize city land that is currently already owned by the city to build a station here. The nice thing about this station is if it is moved here, it's less than, or about a half a mile, less than a half a mile away from our current Station 61, which adds maybe about 25, 30 seconds to the response time to any area within the city. So that's a benefit to this site. I know that was a concern of some of the citizens of moving it here versus where it was at and moving it further away from their home. The response time is anywhere from about 25 to 30 seconds difference, not a drastic amount of time. Why this location is also that we have the senior center that's been vacated recently to move down to this Fit City Center. We have access to all directions. This is a great opportunity for us to get to the south end of our city, the north end of our city, the east side of our city, and the west side of our city really quickly based on the road network. So this location would allow us to get into all of those directions really quickly and more safely than we are able to today. And it would also create a connectedness to the rest of the city complex area with Parks and Recreation, City Hall, SFCN right down the street. All of the buildings within this area would all then be connected so that there's ever a need and you need to go to the city for whatever it may be, you can access all of us within a very small jaunt down the road and be able to access all of those facilities quickly without having to travel back and forth. So with this, we call it the accordion growth. This fire station is being built, or we're designing it to be built to be what we call a dual company firehouse. So we can scale it down and up, right? So today we have two stations, Station 61 and Station 62. This allows us to be able to bring on staffing to staff a Station 3 without having a Station 3 built. Personnel are really expensive, and so those are really the things that we rely on to do the job. We need people to do the job of fire and EMS. And so bringing them on and staffing them out of one station versus having 3 stations allows us to slow down growth for a third and a fourth fire and EMS station, and allows us to get those 3 companies worth of staffing out of one when we get to that phase of our growth. So today, the projection is that we would be able to staff a Station 62 and a Station 61. Right now, we don't have a full-time fire engine out of Station 62. And so because we have no room to put people, we've taken all the office spaces and all of the places that we would put people, and we have nowhere to grow into allowing a fire engine to be placed at Station 62. So by building this building, that would allow us to staff Station 62 appropriately with an engine out of Station 61 and 3 ambulances, 2 squads, and a battalion chief on a daily basis. So there might be some perception around, well, if we build this station today, it will have 16 dorm rooms, and we would need to staff all 16 of those. That is not the case. There would be a need for staffing to then grow us into Station 62, which we don't have right now, and we're incapable of doing because we just don't have the room. So we still need to get that second station staffed. The only way to do it is to build this station with the additional rooms today. And then it allows us to bring on a 3rd firehouse worth of staffing before the 3rd firehouse is built. When the 3rd firehouse is built, we would take those firefighters out of Station 61, move them to Station 63. We would accordion down that firehouse to a single company use. And then when we start seeing the projection of growth for a 4th station, we would then bring on the personnel, staff 4 stations worth of apparatus and personnel in the city out of 3 firehouses, and accordion this back open again until we have the need for that 4th station to be built, and grow into that, and then take those individuals and move it into that, and then the 5th, and whatever else the growth pattern goes to. Any questions with that as far as staffing projections and what the accordion model is designed for?
I'm just a little taller. Matt Romero, Project Manager, Spanish Fork City. kind of our timeline, we are at the point right now with our design where we're ready to go to bid. So our construction documents will be done the 1st of February, and we would like to go out to bid with it and get some pricing to see where we're really at. If that gets approved, then we'd move into construction in April, May-ish, and then of this year, and then the end of construction would be July of 27, which also gives us a 2-month move-in period so that we can be full service in September of 27.
Before we talk about the finances of this, what questions do you have? What questions have maybe we not answered so far that you've been asked?
I just have a follow-up question on something that Eddie said. We would have 1 fire and 3 ambulances at 61. No, with the new build.
We have 2 ambulances at 61, an ambulance at 62.
So 2.
Right now we have 2 ambulances at 62, 1 ambulance at 61 due to ability to staff.
Okay.
Bedrooms down there. So we would move the 2nd ambulance down here, and that would allow us to staff an engine company. Station 60.
So Station 62 has 7 bedrooms.
Right.
And the ideal configuration would be eventually to have an engine there, and it would be a 3-handed engine, to have an engine up there, and then an ambulance and a squad.
Okay.
Right, that would give us to the 7 bedrooms. You'd have, in that crew, you'd have a captain that could lead that group of 7. But today, we don't have the ability to have any firefighters up there. So it's kind of flip-flopped. And so when this is built, you would see a fire station go up. You'd see a fire crew go up there. Today, though, we only have 1 engine company, a 3-handed engine company.
Right.
So part of the math that you're probably wondering is, where do those come from? And that is an eventual future staffing question. And that's perhaps the biggest question that comes from the accordion growth plan and building for growth. It doesn't mean that we have the funds and the people to staff anything more than what we have staffed today. So part of future considerations and future requests will include discussions about those additional personnel as they may be asked for and as we may be able to or not be able to fund those.
Thank you for covering that. And just because I'm trying to figure it out in my head. So if we were to build out 61 and 62 with what we're talking about and the accordion, how many total apparatuses could we have between the 3-ish stations? This is
so
mere
yeah, just say the
curiosity.
2 stations, right? This will have 6 apparatus bays or 5? 5 apparatus bays,
So what
all
could you
that are
fit in
85 feet.
That's it.
So what could we fit in that? 2 fires, 3 fires?
Everything that we have today, plus a little bit more.
Staff 3 firehouses worth of
Yeah.
apparatus.
So 3 and then 1 to 2 ambulances? Okay, thank you.
5 ambulances.
That's all I'm wondering.
Yeah, everything that we have today.
That's all I wanted to know.
Move apparatus wherever.
Yeah.
Right.
What we have today would be suitable to staff everything we have.
Yeah.
Function with three fire stations.
3.
out of 10.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
That's
don't
what
need
I'm-
additional apparatus today.
Correct. No
Yeah,
apparatus.
which is great. We don't need additional apparatus for a 3rd station.
Right.
That really is a question of strategically locating people in a different place.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse. Any other questions? We get asked then, how do we build this? And I think the first question that we get asked is, are my property taxes going to go up with this? We've not considered any kind of property tax increase with the construction of Station 61. The actual construction, the building itself, we estimate today will be about $15 million. Now, I'm going to say something that I hope I don't regret, but there's some wood here. I'm going to knock on it. But right now, the estimates from the contractor and the architect suggest that the construction of the facility would be about $15 million. But there are some current experiences that are being had where estimates are coming in better than that. So we're hopeful that if we go out to bid right now, maybe it'll be less than $15 million. I would like to win at least once in the lottery of construction and get the construction price on the right angle of construction prices. That seems to be something that is being experienced in the market right now. So this is a great time to go out to bid. But right now, I think all of our estimates have been consistently at about that 15 or slightly under, but we're projecting about $15 million for the construction. Total cost with the soft cost, right? It's the beds, the equipment, all of that is $18 million, but we have $3 million that we've programmed for that. So the first square there shows that $15 million for the construction that would be financed with debt, and we would propose bonding for that. We would use existing cash reserves to fund the first $3 or $4 million of that, and you have the latitude to work through that. But right now, our proposals are about $3 million from cash reserves and $15 million from debt. So then how do we serve that debt? How do we pay for that debt? There are two main sources that we would use for that. The first would be public safety impact fees. Not all elements of this structure can be paid for with public safety impact fees, but some elements can. And so we would use as much of that as we can based on what the law would allow. We receive anywhere from $800,000 to $1.2 million a year in public safety impact fees. So that could cover probably about 50% of that. If the law will allow for that, that's what we would propose, and our studies will finalize that. But right now we're proposing or projecting that about 50% of this will be impact fee eligible. If it's not, or if more of it's eligible, then we can actually pay ourselves back, a few years later even. So we can carry the note to ourselves. So
maybe that's a good place to remind the public what an impact fee is.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Seth?
Public, an impact fee, whether it's for water, sewer, power, or public safety, is something that new growth pays. And so for every home that is constructed, for every new business location that is constructed, and for any industrial site that is constructed, as a part of their building permit, there's a formula that says in order to maintain the current level of service for water, sewer, public safety, whatever that is, there's a formula that says this is how much, based on what you're building, what that new build would pay toward that particular item. So that's new growth, new houses, new businesses, new industrial spaces, paying to, it's in essence, buy in to the system that we already have. So new growth, we estimate will pay for at least half of this structure over that 10-year run.
I have a question on that. Would that increase that impact, or would it stay the same? Let's say it's coming in at $10. Would it go up to $15 because we would need to increase it to cover the debt, or would it stay the same, do you think?
I'm almost understanding your question, but I'm not totally. Sorry.
That.
You mean the fee increase, the impact fee?
Yes. Would the impact fee increase to pay for the debt?
Maybe.
Okay.
Isn't that just a great answer? Impact fee calculations take projects into consideration. They take the growth and lifetime of the project. They take how many people are into that. So it might increase that impact fee a little bit. I don't know that it will increase it a lot, but it might. Not a great answer.
So you
it's
know
just part
how
of the
much
calculation.
is coming in right now.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know for sure if that would cover the payment, the 50% that you're talking about.
Right now, estimates or historical revenue, and you can't count on impact fees perfectly because it depends on is this growth going to happen or not.
Yeah.
But historically, looking back even just the last 3 years, 1 year was $800,000, 1 year was $1.2 million, 1 year was I think $900,000. So 50% of the debt service would be about $900,000.
Okay.
So we're right in a really good sweet spot for impact fees to cover what we estimate that 50% amount to be. Yeah, it's not a wild, out of the ballpark or out of the realm of possibilities that it covers half. I'm hopeful, candidly, that impact fees can cover more than half. I want it to, because that's a great place that I can get that revenue from. I just don't want to overpromise that and come in, having to do something else. But if impact fees could cover 65%, great. But right now, I'm pretty comfortable in saying 50, but our analysis will bear that out. Then the remainder of that will come from capital project savings, capital project monies, not savings. Did you have a question?
I can wait a second. Though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the remainder of that will come from capital project. If we were going to build this without any kind of impact fees or anything like that, we have money that we allocate every year for capital projects. There's roughly $3 million a year that we allocate toward capital projects, buildings, one-time projects, and we can earmark from that this rather than saving for 5 or 6 years and seeing the cost of this project go from 15 million to maybe 17, 18, or 20. We can use that and cash flow year to year and use that money to pay for this. And so that would be the second place that we would take that from. Yeah, Landon.
Yeah, a minute ago you said, Seth, about you're talking about, I think, soft expenses, the furniture, things of that nature that'll go in.
Yeah.
Was it about $3 million that, or you said 15 million?
Yeah, the total cost of the project's about 18, 15 being the building, 3 being
And 3, okay.
soft cost permits, the architects, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. We call that FF&E. I don't know if there's anything else major inside of the soft costs than those 3.
Alerting system.
Yeah, the security and alerting, those kinds of things.
Okay, thanks.
So what is that? 15 million. If you take the building and shake it, everything that falls out is not inside the 15 million. Everything that falls out is inside of the 3 million. That's a great way to think about it. Yeah. So we would propose, everything that I've talked about is with a mindset or a proposal that the debt for this be a 10-year loan, that it be a 10-year debt. This building that we're in, Library Hall, is a $20 million structure, and it's a 20-year loan. So this would be a $15 million loan, and we propose that it be we will propose in the structure a 10 million or a 10-year debt service. One of the reasons why we would do that is we don't think that we can put off Station 63 for probably longer than 10 years, but we don't want to have 2 bonds for 2 different stations. So being able to take care of 61, and then perhaps near the end of that, be thinking about and building Station 63 is probably on that 10-year horizon. All right, let me summarize. Oh, no, before I summarize, goodness. The current location. One of the questions that we do get asked is, what are you going to do with the current location? What's going to happen here? And perhaps some of what Ms. Hawkins' comments from earlier today are part of this, as maybe the DUP or others have heard. You're going to do something here, that means you're going to tear down our building. One of the things that I shared with Rill as we were speaking is that decision has not been made. As we're talking about this, I think you're starting to hear more real conversations of, is that a possibility? That being, what do we do with not only Station 61, but the memorial building that's adjacent to it? There is no current plan to do anything. We haven't talked about that. You know that. We know that. We haven't talked about what do we do with that location. And candidly, there's not a big rush. You heard Matt say that as soon as we'd see this become operational would be in the third quarter of 2027. So we have almost 2 years, not quite 2 years, before the reality of what do we do with this site comes to pass and comes upon us. And so we have time. We would propose that you identify and create some kind of an ad hoc group, some kind of an ad hoc committee that considers the block that is that fire station, at the greater block. You've got the main plaza that's not going anywhere and does a great job. You've got the memorial building on the other side, and then you've got a large parking lot that we own and some undeveloped space, and then a singular home. We would propose to consider that whole area and what is the highest and best use for that location, and look at the area, not just what we have, but maybe holistically, and consider what is the highest and best use. I don't know what comes out of that discussion, but I think if we're going to reimagine Station 61, we ought to consider the whole space, and then bring it back to the constraints of reality, and see what feels best and what we think can happen. As Rilla mentioned, involving somebody from the DUP, involving somebody from the veterans group, as well as you and others, that certainly could be a part of that. So we would propose that you do that, and maybe over the next 6 to 9 months, take that serious look, and then be ready at the first part of 2027 to do something with that site. And that would give you time to market it in whatever fashion to whatever it is you're trying to do, and when we're ready to move out, you'd be ready to start something there. The proceeds of the sale of that property, if we do decide to sell it, could be used to pay down the debt for the fire station. It also could be used to stay on that side and further develop it to whatever it is that we want to do. But I would say that at this moment, you have a bunch of options. You have no limitations there in terms of what to do with the site. All right, I think that's the majority of what we have to present today. What stones have we left unturned?
Anybody want to throw any stones to Seth while he's up there?
I don't have a stone, but I will just say that Councilman Euler and I sit on this committee with Matt and Eddie and Heber and Tyler Jacobson, and it's been just really interesting. I think it's been going for 9 months, about that, to just see it all come to fruition, and they don't leave a stone unturned. They really have looked at everything, and when we decided, well, we just don't think we can stay at that site, choosing this site and going from should we do 1-story or 2-story, and I think at the bottom line for every single decision has been the cost, and everyone on that committee has really kept that dollar amount as low as possible and working through things to make it affordable. And then you, Seth, thank you for not having to raise property taxes for our residents to do something like this. You've been creative of coming up with the money, so.
Yes, and when she says creative, I just want to make sure everybody understands it's all legal. Nothing.
You laid it out very clearly.
Right, Jordan. I want to come back to this accordion plan. This is something that we talked about in a work session maybe 5-6 months ago. At that time, you gave us some direction that you were comfortable exploring this larger structure than what Station 61 maybe would ultimately only need to be. And we touched on this, but I want to highlight this. The additional cost in adding what we would describe as 6 extra bedrooms is about $2 to $2.5 million. It's not an insignificant number. But the cost of a new station, Station 62, is probably at least 1 bedroom smaller than it should be, right? So you probably want 8 beds. Station 62 has 7, so it's a little bit smaller than what it should be. It's not. There's a few things about it that if we could redesign it today, we'd probably tweak, but not a ton larger. But say one bedroom and what that it brings on. So add 300-400 square feet. It was about $6 million, Tyler, $5 million, $5 to $6 million. I think was the total cost of that in 2025. So the cost of construction from that structure, which was 5 or 6 years ago, at $5 to $6 million in today's dollars, just 5 years later, Matt or Heber, would you add 25%? Add 25% to that. That's almost $2 million, maybe not quite $2 million. So that takes it to $8 million. So the idea of building Station 63 is, in 5 years, 4 years, 7 years. If we don't build Station 61 to the size that we have, then it's going to be sooner. So we would cut $2 to $2.5 million off of this structure, and we would immediately turn right around and spend maybe $8 million. With what you have considered in doing this, and I think this is a good consideration that you've put together. It delays. This station is in the center of town. Our ability to respond everywhere it's not perfect from the center of town, but we're not coming from an end, right? We're not coming from the south end or the east end or the west end. We're coming right from the center. And so our ability to get to the hospital and do an interfacility transfer, and our ability to get to the core of the town, which is candidly where the majority of our emergency calls are today, they are within what would be the 61 boundary. That's enhanced from the location that we have here. So it gives us the ability genuinely to put off Station 63 for a time, Station 64 for a time, and who knows, I will not promise it, but I will certainly state it may put off the need for a 64 for a long time. It may put off the need for a 65 forever. I don't know. I don't know how large Spanish Fork is going to be. I have an idea of what that is, but to date, there is no community to the west of us. And if eventually somebody says, hey, we want to keep growing, that future council and those landowners out there could say, let's do it. This could put off the need for those spaces because it has quick and easy access eventually over the freeway on Center Street, today under the freeway and over the freeway on First South, and to directions, as we've said, east and west on Main Street and or east, north, and south on Main Street and Center Street. So this gives us a lot of flexibility. I think it's important that you understand as a council that the biggest concern I think that comes with having a station that is that large is that what Eddie said, will you then want people in it always? And the answer is, well, there's going to be a fire to fight. We have the firefighters that we have today, and they're responding as they are today. We will continually come to you with plans, ideas, and needs, and even wants. But we will always give you those numbers, those costs, and those staffing levels. And that's a decision that you get to make. But having the beds gives you and I the flexibility that today we don't have. And putting the people as we have in the portable units that we have, moving people to locations that are less ideal because there just isn't space on the site for 62. We are reacting to some of those constraints that we've experienced and want to pre-solve some of those by doing that. So will there always be people in those beds? No, that's what the accordion plan's designed to be. And I think it's important to know that accordions swell and accordions shrink. And that's the plan as Eddie described it. I think he did a really good job of talking about how that can swell and how that can shrink. That does not mean that day one it shall be staffed. It might mean that you will be asked, can we? And are there funds for? But that is a decision that you as council need to make, have to make, right? In terms of, yes, we do, no, we don't. And your fire chief, Eddie, he'll always talk to you about the needs, identify those, and then you, as the elected officials, can make those decisions based on the best information that you have. Okay, that's it. Tonight, we do want from you some direction in the packet. You've got this proposed motion. We're looking for that clarity from you, directing staff to proceed with the construction documents, finishing those as Heber's getting close to that, and then to proceed with the bidding process to bring back a recommended GMP.
Seth, before we do that, I'd like to ask Heber to get up and say a few things as well. This is related to when we heard the different presentations for the architects that came in asking for bids for this project. This is one of the reasons why I supported hiring Heber, AJC. When any of us are in an emergency and we need help, we expect our emergency responders to get there and take care of us, basically save us. Talk, Heber, maybe a little bit about why it's important, why the design of a firehouse is important for the safety and the health of the firemen and women that actually live there.
Yeah. So, one of I've been the fortunate beneficiary of quick response times twice in the last 4 years. The first time when I had a cardiac arrest, and the first responders saved my life. And response times matter to me, and I'm very grateful to these first responders. And they're often overlooked in what they do. They face a huge amount of risk in 4 areas that modern fire stations try to address as we are learning this data. The first is their risk for cancer rates is extremely high compared to almost any other profession. There have been tests even in our valley in Cache County just recently where the percentages are, very disappointing, not just in getting cancer, but multiple forms of cancer per first responder due to the kinds of chemicals and carcinogens they're exposed to on calls. So one of the ways that we've started combating that with modern fire stations is with very intentional decontamination processes built in. So from the minute they get back from a call, there's a series of steps that helps them decontaminate in layers and avoid bringing that back into their living quarters. It's like bringing that back into your house. The second is the building systems are designed to sweep and clean that air and in different areas in compartmentalized ways to keep it from spreading through the facility. So step number one is do what we can to reduce the risk of cancer for first responders. The second is, and it's happened already just at the end of last year, first responders are also exposed to higher rates of cardiovascular events or cardiac arrests or heart attacks, which is tied to the extremities of their schedule and the demands of their work, and sleep deprivation because of the hours of the calls on their tight shifts over 2 24-hour shifts. And so modern stations work really hard to enhance every hour of sleep that they get so the quality of that sleep is better, to reduce the health impacts on first responders. So the rooms are blackout rooms. The alerting systems only bother the crews that are actually being alerted. There's noise control between the rooms. There's just a whole series of things we can do to help with that. And then the third and really one of the most important that is very easily overlooked is the impact of mental health. These men and women are going into very extreme situations. People are passing away. They're dealing with a whole range of the human experience. And so we design in our stations, we use a set of tools called trauma-informed design, where we use materials, color, light, sound to minimize environmental stressors on the first responders so that what they're dealing with out there is not being recycled in the building, and it feels like a place of safety. And there's clinical research that backs up our approach. And the chief and their crew have been great to entertain us and help us work to incorporate these into the facility, and we feel very passionate about those. So hopefully, Councilmember Euler, I addressed your question.
That was perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Anything else for Seth or staff here?
No, I think, Seth, you covered all of you covered the biggest concerns I've heard as we've started this process, right? Like, what are we going to do with that property? Tax increases and then personnel changes. So I think you guys did a good job tonight kind of covering all the bases that we're doing. The one question I have, so if we approve this tonight, the next step is we bring back a proposed bid. Is that when we make the decision that we are all in moving forward? What does that look like? I think just for all of our knowledge and
thank you. That's a great question. So again, that motion would be to give that clarity of let's move forward. The go no go, I think, is
the next step,
a cool way of describing what I think you just said. Right, the go no go would be when we have the GMP, and so we've hired as a construction manager and general contractor, CERC Construction. And once the construction documents that AJC, once they're done creating those, CERC would take that out to bid, communicating with all of the different subcontractors and whatnot. They would put that together in the bid package, and they would give us a guaranteed maximum price. And just for the sake of conversation here, let's say that's $15 million. So we would come to you, and if we as staff, after we review that, and probably with these Councilman Euler and Councilwoman Beck as a part of that committee, if we feel like that's the right answer based on the research and numbers that we think CERC has done a good job in getting the bid, we think the bids are good, and we are all in alignment with that, then we would bring that to you for your review and proposed approval. That would be end of March-ish. Matt? Sometime in March or early April is when I think we'd have the GMP back. I don't think it'd be in February. Would you think it'd be that fast? Okay, yeah. So sometime in March or the first half of April, we would have that GMP. I think that's a really good question then to set up. So we will need to decide. Today, I would like for you to give a very clear direction. We would appreciate a very clear direction with this motion of we're going to move forward. And but for the price coming in crazy, but for circumstances being different than what we think they are today, you're comfortable moving forward. The go, no-go isn't until we do that GMP. But once we do that GMP, it will be important that we are go. If you approve that GMP, I will outline for you in greater detail the bid, the bond structure, perhaps at another meeting. But I think we can do this with one bond. Well, I know we can do this with one bond, but there is another project that we've talked about at the Public Works Shop that you might decide that we actually need to do that one too. And that's about 6 months behind this one in terms of its projected development and understanding that it could be done. And we don't need to bond for this in April. So I would propose that we wait and know, are we going to build that public workshop? And let's say we are going to build that public workshop. What exactly is that price? Let's get to the GMP of that project too. We can cash flow this based on what Jordan and I have reviewed. We can cash flow the construction of this for 6 or 9 months, even if we have to, before we get that bond, to give us the flexibility to make the decision even on that. But we have to be committed to the bond for this. So let me give you a couple of steps down the road from what you're asking, Jesse. If you say move forward today, we go get the bids and we come back in late March or April, the second meeting in March, first meeting in April, we have those GMPs, and you say let's do it. You will see from staff sometime in April or May a parameters resolution for a bond. We will do that parameters resolution very broadly. This project's a $15 million project. The parameters resolution for that might be $70 or $80 million, because we're going to be saying what's the total that we might need for the public works building. It's not going to add up to 80, but you know how parameters resolutions are. They're always much bigger than we ever think we could need, because you just don't know, right? But probably it's going to be between a total combined of 50 or $60 million. But you'll see a parameters resolution in May, and then you probably won't see us actually bond until the end of calendar year 26, or perhaps the first quarter of 2027. Just depends on when we get those GMPs and when the right time is. But we will need to be committed, and I think the commitment would be the parameters resolution that we would see in April or May. So it's a little bit more than what you asked, but I think that helps inform what really those next steps are. So the true, this is the go, no go, the second thumb, that's going to come with the GMP, and then the real commitment would be that parameters resolution. Jordan, did I explain that okay? And you comfortable with how I described that?
Perfect.
From your perspective?
Yep.
Okay. I will tell you, this makes perfect sense in my head. Sleeping with this, I've been thinking about this for the last 6 months, and I talk about this with Corey today, and he's like, man, I don't know. He's taking pictures of my whiteboard, and so part of our work session, we'll walk through this timetable, and we'll get everything. We'll have the Station 61 timeline, the Public Works timeline. We'll overlay everything, and hopefully by there you've got real clarity about what this plan is. But we've tried to make it so that we can do them all as one, but they each have their own standalone go-no-goes, if you will. You've got a handout with you that is a lot of what we talked about today and some FAQs. We'd love some feedback. We think that this probably is a part of some information that we'll put out on our website or something. So this should contain everything that we said today, but if there's something that's missing or something you want us to enhance or improve, let us know. We'd love that feedback as well.
I think I just want to touch on some of the information that's included in here, but 1996 is when the current Station 61 was built, and Matt and I were 16 at that time, just thinking about driving. What?
Now you're old.
Now I'm old, yep.
You were driving, just illegally.
Well,
Come on.
he was
Statute of limitations is passed.
The future mayor was not driving illegally, but his friend probably was. It was a great... I remember that. I remember when that was new, and that glass in the front with the cool truck in front, and the town was pretty excited, and we came out and cut ribbons and stuff, and I'm sure Matt's mom was the president of the chamber at the time or something. It was a big deal. And now you fast forward 30 years later, and the constraints of that place, I think you could get caught in a mode of saying, well, geez, if we just wouldn't have grown, we wouldn't have needed that. Well, two things there. That's a false equivalent. how would the city stop people from using their land how they want to use their land? But our neighboring communities have doubled in that 30 years, doubled and probably doubled again, that contribute to our Main Street traffic issue, which, Chief, if your people pull out and wanted to get mad and use a one-finger salute at some people for not stopping for lights and sirens, it's probably not our resident, to be honest with you, at that time, pulling through there. Just a little defense of our residents. But the building of a new station is the growth that's happening as well. So if you think, geez, I got to pay for this new station. Yeah, part of your everyday tax dollar is, but really it's coming from the growth that's happening. And so I think that's an important metric to keep in mind, that, boy, I have to pay for this because we grew. Well, number one, we couldn't have stopped growing in 96, and we can't stop growing in 2026. But growth and in those impact fees are going to pay for half of this facility.
Yeah.
And so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. I've talked to our old fire chief, Lynn Jones, about change, and Lynn's still around on 7th North and 1st West, and when you talk to him about the new changes that are happening, you can see kind of a twinkle in his eye that he was excited about changes that happened 40 and 50 years ago too, when he was involved, and he's excited about changes now. And so I appreciate the homework that Councilman Euler and Councilwoman Beck have put into this committee. Residents continue to ask questions. We'll find the answers to those questions for you. But this seems like the time that this needs to happen for our community, just like in 1996, 30 years ago. It was a time to happen in our community and build that fire station.
Yeah, and Mayor, one thing that I was looking back through some notes, in 10 years ago, we started responding with ambulance personnel from the station during the day, just 10 years ago. That might have been too late, right? If we want to play Monday morning quarterback, you might say, oh, we should have done that sooner, maybe. But just 10 years ago, we had ambulance personnel, not fire, but we had two distinct teams, 25 to 30 ambulance personnel and 30 or so firefighters that all responded from home 11 years ago. 10 years ago, we started putting them at the station during the daytime. And that helped to decrease response times for calls. And I think something that you also described in terms, not just growth is necessitating some of this, but as you think about what we were doing just 11 years ago, responding from home, so that means I'm at my house waiting to be called. I get a phone call, my pager goes off, I drive to the station, I get in an ambulance or a fire truck, and then I go from there to wherever that call is. Since then, we've had a service level change. You could describe it even as a service level upgrade, to where we are now responding from the station, right? And so we took those people 10 years ago, some of them, and started responding from the station, and we reduced that 4 to 6 minute response time by 4 to 6 minutes because we took the travel from home away. And now we're doing that with all of our ambulance medical personnel, and we're doing that with a fire engine too. So our response times have decreased anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes 10 years ago. That first piece of equipment is responding to those calls in, was it 2 minutes and, I want to say it was like 150 seconds, something like that. 126 seconds? Thank you, 126 seconds. So 2 minutes and 6 seconds is the response to get that piece of apparatus on its way to the call. And that response time used to be 7 to 9 minutes. So we've shaved anywhere from 7 to 5 minutes off of that response time in what is a service level upgrade. That isn't growth only, right? That benefits every old home, an existing home, as well as every new home. So that's something that you and I as residents are paying for, because we are benefiting from that service level upgrade, so adding to the growth as well.
Okay, Thank you for that, those details. We appreciate everybody presenting, and we appreciate the questions as well. If there's no other questions for Seth or the good folks with him, I'd entertain a motion on item B.
I move to direct staff to proceed with the construction documents and proceed with the bidding process to bring a recommended GMP back for council to review in a subsequent meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Euler, second by Councilwoman Beck. It's a roll call vote. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Item B is approved to move forward to the next stage. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Item C is RAP Program Committee reappointments. Mr. Dale Robinson overseeing all things Parks and Rec, including recreation, arts, and parks. He's going to rap for us.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
You could make a commercial for us. I have a couple of ladies that have served on the RAP committee for 2 years and have expressed a desire to be reappointed and serve another term. Let me just briefly tell you who they are. I know we have so many committees and turnovers, and some of you are new since we've done this last. So Deidre Gunnels, she's been a resident of Spanish Fork for 17 years. She just states that she has enjoyed serving on the RAP committee and helping make sure the RAP tax dollars are used wisely, as appropriated by the RAP rules and in ways that benefit the most citizens. She and her husband have 4 kids. Some are athletes and others are interested in the arts, so our family's involved in both sports and arts. She's been a stay-at-home mom for 18 years and enjoys serving the community in any way that she can. The other one is Haley Hughes. She also has lived in Salem, or in Spanish Fork and Salem area her whole life. Her husband and her live in her current home since 2012. They have 3 kids. She's a CPA that works for Rick Ainge. You guys probably know that name. So she works in that small firm with her dad. Her favorite part of being on the RAP committee is getting to witness so many people serving the city by bringing art and recreation opportunities to our community. So those are the 2 names before you. While you're pondering on that, let me make sure the community knows, because you're probably going to ask me this question anyway. I can see it in your eyes. The RAP application opens February 1st. And that can be found on the Parks and Recreation website. In fact, you can just go into your browser and type in RAP Program Spanish Fork, and it'll go right to the RAP webpage where our application is. Those applications will be accepted through through the end of March. And then in the mid-April, we'll have this committee will meet. Look at that, Jack. You can follow directions. Good job. Yeah, fantastic. And then the committee will meet mid-April and go through those applications, and have a lot of the applicants will come and actually do live interviews in front of the committee. Neat program. We're in our eighth out of 10 years, so it's gone by really fast. So that'll be up for election again here in a couple of years. It's currently generating about $1.3 million that we are putting to good use to build some really neat facilities for our residents.
And that's annually, right?
Yes. And I know this number is outdated, but the last time I can recall us getting data, that is at least 60% of that is paid for by non-residents.
65.
We're up to 65. Thank you for that. We're up to 65%. Now, I know those of you that like to shop, 65% off is a pretty dang good deal. I was looking at Mike. I wasn't looking at you.
I know. I'm helping you.
Anyway, this is a fantastic program, and a lot of our programs, mainly our arts programs, have benefited tremendously. What a blessing it is, besides the neat facilities we've been able to help build using that as a source of funding. Any questions on those two ladies?
No questions, Dale. Just a question. How many total RAP program committee members do we have on that committee?
We have, let me see. I'm thinking 10.
Oh, wow.
That's the number that comes to mind. I'll have to go count them all in my head.
That's great.
But I think we have 10 from all walks of life. They're fantastic. It takes a little bit to figure out how to do this process, so it's really beneficial to have them serve another term, because there are a lot of rules and guidelines, and you can find them on the webpage, but there's rules and guidelines, and trying to figure out how do we use this money wisely. Should it be paid for by the city, or should it be funded by this RAP program? So it's been a really neat process to watch them, and they're very engaged. They put a lot of time and effort into studying these and ask very good questions when they're interviewed. They feel a real responsibility to manage this, even though they're just an advisory committee. They take it very seriously to make recommendations to you guys in terms of what things should be funded. They're very protective of those dollars, which I appreciate.
It's so helpful for us when that recommendation comes across our desk, because we know they've done all the research and understand the rules. So it's really helpful. Tell them thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
I'd say that pass our thanks along to the committee. Stacy and I are old enough to remember when this was implemented. And if residents don't remember, 0.1% of sales tax revenue in Spanish Fork on not groceries, but basically everything else that you could buy is set aside for recreation, arts, and parks.
Yeah.
And has to be spent on that.
That's right. Yeah, it is earmarked for those programs specifically.
Been a great blessing and good decision back then, and it's turning out to be a great tool for the whole city.
It's fantastic. I don't know if Councilman Euler, he sits on that committee as well. Did I get the number right? You're checking on me.
I'm checking right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I was 2.
You're
Well, that
close.
counts me and you, so there's 10 of us.
Yeah.
There was 10.
Actually, it doesn't count the 2 that we're nominating tonight, so it is 10. So you're correct. Well done. Yeah, they make some tough decisions. We get more grant requests than we have RAP allocations available, and so for them to sit down and because every single grant or every single application that comes in is well deserving. There's some great programs that benefit from this, and so they make some tough choices trying to decide how to disperse that money and make it. I think it was Deidre mentioned that they try and make it to where it benefits the majority or the most residents within Spanish Fork as possible. So they do a great job.
Yeah, it was nice in the first 5 years or so. We had enough money to fund everybody.
Yeah.
But as with the rest of Spanish Fork, the number of requests have grown as well. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Dale.
Any questions for Dale on these committee members? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the reappointments.
I move to approve the RAP Program Committee reappointments of Deidre Gunnels and Haley Hughes.
Motion made by Councilman Took.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cardin. A roll call vote here. Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Councilman Took.
Yes.
And Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Reappointments are made. Thank you, Deidre. Thank you, Haley. Appreciate your service to the RAP committee. Okay, D is Cold Springs Pipeline Rehab Phase 2 GMP approval request. Water, not an important thing.
Important. And this pipeline is very important to our water system, bringing water from our springs down the canyon to us. You can see on this exhibit here that Phase 1 has been completed. Phase 2, which on this drawing shows two segments, is what we've been working on for the last couple of years. We've finally got to a point where we have a railroad permit to move forward with. So back in June, the plans were done. The contractor put together a GMP estimate. We didn't bring it to the council at that time because we didn't have a railroad permit. It certainly delayed the project by about 6 months, 7 months, and changed the scope a little bit. For the most part, they were looking at areas that are really close to their tracks and saying, let's open trench some of this and move the pipe further away rather than just slip lining the existing. Not bad things for us either, but we've worked through those, have the permit. The cost is slightly higher, mainly because of those open cut areas, and then they also want us in those areas to have flowable fill, which is quite expensive, just to make sure their infrastructure stays solid for them. So the updated GMP in front of you today is just over $3 million. And as a reminder, there's a $2 million federal grant that's part of this project. We received, I believe, about $1 million, just shy of $1 million. We went ahead and bought some of the pipe needed and some stuff up front because there's a timeline on that grant. So we were able to purchase some of the pipe that was needed for this and apply for the money to keep the government happy that we were going to move forward with this project. So that's what's in front of you today. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Questions for Corey on this?
Important stuff.
Pretty important stuff. Has to do with some keeping the water flowing, and we did have a wet year. Believe it or not, it did snow. It used to snow here and create
Just a couple years ago.
create high levels in the river, and we had a year where the river got close to this stuff and washed out towards tracks and everything. And this is the same area that we're replacing pipe now. So important for us to drink water, which is important in the city. If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion for D.
I move to approve the Cold Springs Pipeline Rehab Phase 2 GMP.
Motion made by Councilman Cardon,
Second.
second by Councilman Took. A roll call vote here. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Item D is approved. It takes us to our discussion item tonight, the 1050 West Annexation. David.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to start.
Switch it up.
Jack, if you can go down a few slides for me. Right there. What we're going to talk about next is what's identified in the yellow there on that map. You can see from the image there the bridge that goes over I-15 at 400 North, the bottom right-hand side of the photo. So that's a reference point for what we've talked to the council about before a few different times, including a year ago. We had a really long conversation about whether or not the council was ready to consider having a residential neighborhood on the west side of I-15. And of course, since then, we've talked as well with the council about the idea of moving forward with an annexation today. And indeed, a number of months ago, the council accepted a proposal to annex land over here, and we've been in the process since then of studying that idea. The idea of not only annexing property, but also what it would take to provide services, what it would take to address some known utility deficiencies in the area, and what's really germane to what we want to talk about tonight. Folks at the Clyde Capital Group have been working with Design Workshop, an urban design firm, to put together a concept plan that would show what potentially a neighborhood in the annexation area would or could look like. And tonight, we're really anxious to get the council's feedback on the concept and ideas that they've put together thus far. So to try to compartmentalize things so that we can focus as best as possible on what we really are anxious to get your feedback on as both staff and the applicant. Maybe let me just mention that we continue to work with the applicant and their other consultants. I think, Corey, it's largely your folks to address things like how we could provide storm drain service to the area, what streets would look like that would enhance access to the annexation area, water, power, all of that. But again, for tonight, if we can just kind of set those thoughts aside, we'll be back before the council on another occasion to discuss that, or at least to present what we found through our study. Tonight, the main issues that we want to focus on, the next slide, just kind of my cue card, just the overall approach to a neighborhood design. Some of the things that we want to get your feedback on, they're identical to what we've hoped to hear from the council about on some other projects that we've presented at this time, just concept review. Housing types, kind of the composition of what the Clyde Group and their consultant think might make sense by way of the different types of homes that could be located in the project, how maybe park space could be designed into the neighborhood. There are a couple of things relative to street designs that you might want to take some time on tonight. The annexation area is, depending on how you look at it, either part of our station area or it's certainly influenced by what would happen should there ever be a commuter rail stop in Spanish Fork near Center Street and I-15, and of course that is something that we're planning for. And then maybe there's one other issue that we can touch on if we have time in terms of how a development in this area could relate to what's happening just to the north, where those properties are being developed with light industrial development. So that's really it for me. Like I said, glad to have Clayton Rackham here tonight. He's with the Clyde Capital Group. You've seen him before. Hopefully you know who he is. And Chris Geddes, familiar face. He's worked with the city on, I would say, a couple of projects now. And in this instance, he's working for Clayton's team. And thank you both for being here. That's it for me. So unless the council has questions for me, I'm ready to
hand it over.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you guys for being here. What we've typically done with these discussion items is try to have, you present for 15, 20 minutes or so, and then we ask some questions or talk amongst ourselves. But obviously not a public hearing, but a discussion item that we can try to just hear from you and ask some good questions.
Of course.
So,
great. Well, good to see many of you again. Again, my name is Chris Geddes. I'm with Design Workshop. We've been working with Clyde Capital Group on this project. I believe you've seen this packet in your presentation materials tonight, so I'm not going to belabor everything. I want to basically hit the high points. We really think that there's a great opportunity for this location within the context of both Spanish Fork and the larger region. With the site being really a strategic gateway, Spanish Fork itself being really a gateway to the Wasatch Front, the opportunity to really capitalize on 6 and 15 coming together and really start to understand how we can start to accommodate the growth that you have been seeing and according to the state are going to continue to see over the next 20 to 30 years. Really good access, especially once the Center Street interchange comes around, having that immediate access so that new residential on the west of I-15 isn't impacting Main Street, as you discussed earlier, and some of the existing streets in town that are seeing some congestion. And then finally, we've talked about this for a while, rapid growth. We're seeing the numbers are showing a doubling of population in Spanish Fork by 2050. So that's a lot of new people to accommodate. We also, in the land use plan update, really looked at the opportunity that exists within existing entitlements and current kind of development patterns. And if you wanted to accept all of that growth, you really need to expand the footprint greatly. Now, the land use plan really recommended thinking about higher densities at 3 locations along the highway corridor. So up north at 1600 South, at this location, adjacent to the station area, and then on the southwest side of the town. So again, significant population growth. We also know that Spanish Fork currently has, most of the housing stock is single-family homes. A lot of it, on quarter-acre to 6-acre lots. And what we're seeing from the expected growth here is that you're going to see a lot of different family types, a lot of different residential occupiers who might be looking for different types of housing. So this is really starting to look at, can we start to provide a wider range of housing for the folks who are going to be moving here, making sure that we're allowing younger folks, college graduates, those coming back from service, to find a home that fits within their budget and fits their lifestyle at a certain time. So again, just making sure that we're thinking about not focusing strictly on single-family homes, but really diversifying that housing market. And then finally, new residents equal new revenue. You're going to see those residents coming in. We have an opportunity to build new retail space, new commercial space within the station area, allowing the folks to come here in a new neighborhood. They're going to spend their money in Spanish Fork. So that will represent, approximately $200,000 a year in new tax revenue for the community if you went with the densities that we are talking about today. Project intro, Dave showed you the site. We are north of 400 North, just east of I-15. We do have the station area directly to the south of this site. It actually, in our stationary planning, we did include the majority of this land in the conversation. So we are looking at 99.6 acres, again, east of 1050 West and west of I-15, and again, north of 400 North. Excuse me, again, it is directly adjacent to the future planned station area. Dave talked about improvements that have been planned. The city's been talking about this for a bit, and can we get infrastructure to the site? Can we get trails to the site? The site is included in the future trails plan. So there has been a lot of communication already going on about how does this really fit into the overall Spanish Fork footprint. Again, station area plans, this again is one of those areas that was identified as a place for new density, especially if there is a station there. So thinking about mixed use, I'm thinking about, again, a mix of housing types within the station area specifically. We think that the proposal that we're bringing forth today really does tie in very well to the station area plan. Some of the goals that we've talked with Dave about, we've talked with Clayton about, aligning obviously with the city's vision for the future station area. We've been working through that for a couple of years now with you. Fostering a distinct sense of place, making sure that we're building places that have life, have character, that people can emotionally have a tie to. Again, promoting housing diversity and creating a connected and active environment. Want to step back a little bit and talk about what makes a good neighborhood, because there's a reason, there are thoughts behind why we put together the plan that we have that we're showing you tonight. So really thinking about place being the most important. So streets that are designed for people, making sure that we are encouraging human interaction within our rights of way. So that means, where do the buildings fit within the whole streetscape? How do front doors really start to catalyze interactions between neighbors, using buildings to shape the street. So really, again, thinking about what is that urban design, what is that form and character that drive you to think about this as a real neighborhood. Cohesive design. Not everything needs to be homogeneous, but things need to work together. So thinking about how do we provide an opportunity, a range of opportunities in housing density, but also really think about how we curate a place that feels authentic to Spanish Fork. Again, a mix of homes I've talked about, green space woven in. We've spent a lot of time thinking about parks and open space as we put these plans together, because we know those are the places that really provide that opportunity for neighbors to come together and places to gather. They don't have to just be park space, but plaza areas. We thought a lot about that in the station area plan with the Festival Street. So really, again, how do we encourage folks to come together in meaningful social ways? that mix of residential typologies that I'm talking about. Again, diversity is the key here. So not just building apartments, not just building townhomes, but really thinking about a mix that includes single-family housing. Again, I think it's an important component that we can't lose sight of. People are going to want single-family homes here. Duplex, triplex, quadplex. These buildings can actually look like a single-family home, but you can provide opportunity for more families to live within that unit. So again, these really help to shape the scale of a neighborhood. You don't have an apartment directly next to a single-family home, but this allows you to start to create less homogeneity. Cottage homes is something that we're seeing a lot of, both from young buyers as well as empty nesters who are interested in downsizing, providing common outdoor space within those cottage areas, usually smaller footprint size home, but again, bringing the price points down for folks who, again, may not want to live on a quarter-acre lot. Townhomes, we all know what townhomes are. Again, design is a really important part of this, but thinking about that front door, that porch space that really starts to set up this idea of neighborly, and then apartments as a component of the plan as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Clayton to talk about the plan that we put together.
Okay, so like Dave said, we initially came to the DRC and the council talking about how this was feasible. I think we're going to get there. We're working with Corey's team on a number of these items that need to be constructed to have units and families and communities in this area. Today, we do want to focus on, like Dave said, the parks, the housing types, the feel of the community, and get direction from the council on how to proceed. So I won't spend too much time on this, but I'll reiterate, I think all of these are solvable utility items. So one thing that was interesting as we engaged with Design Workshop, they created the station area plan, and we wanted to utilize their expertise that they gained working with the city in that, as well as think through how a site that's the north gateway to the future station area, and if you'll remember as well, I believe some of the comments from earlier, and I guess it has been a year, guided us to think through how can this be a standalone development in the case that this station area is delayed with the interchange and the station UTA following UDOT's lead. And we initially talked through what type of park would be best suited for the community. We looked at central parks, edge parks. A couple other concepts were node parks that work really well with a phased community. And then this linear park, which creates a lot of walkability, creates that centralized area where you can put a variety of housing types all around the same community park that guides residents to the station area in the future. So again, we kind of started with park space in mind. We wanted to understand how the community would interact with the open space. It's not programmed. We don't have it perfectly aligned, but we did like this linear park option. We've had Design Workshop give us some examples of where they've done this in Utah in Daybreak, as well as where it's been done in Denver, where you can create a walkable, connected community. We had discussions in DRC about how to best solve for access of emergency vehicles. Again, these all seem like solvable solutions. So that's kind of where we started to develop our neighborhood design. So we built out this design around the linear park, and again, to orient yourselves, the station area is just south of 4th North, or if you want to consider this part of the station area. We had these right-of-ways connect into the existing station area plan right-of-ways, and then we kept a simple grid system with that higher density residential blending, getting more dense towards the station, less dense further north, to integrate into within the city limits. It's currently all agricultural, but maybe some future residential, as well as we know there are industrial developers just northeast of us. I'll keep going just to show you guys. This shows the parks. Another benefit of the linear park is it's spread throughout. This annexation includes various landowners. We're the majority, and we've been, I guess all the other landowners have agreed to let us run with the concept, and there's a few of them who will likely end up being partners with us, but the other ones are obviously wanting to not have their whole park or their whole parcel be a park, which was one of the more central park layouts that maybe doesn't work well with our neighbors, and we like to be good neighbors. This highlights the grid system and the way we want to direct traffic. We want this to be a walkable community. We want this to promote people going to the station in the future. We also understand it has to function pre-station. We've got commercial collector roads, larger roads around the perimeter, through street connections with no railroad crossings on the east side up to 920 West, which is where the current industrial buildings are. But really wanted to make this site flow and not have heavy traffic on the residential streets, but rather push those to the outer portions. This is an example right of way. We wanted to include this. This is very different from anything in Spanish Fork. Again, not different for Utah or the region, as there are linear parks within our state. But I know we talked through this a little bit with DRC, but we'd love to hear the council's thoughts on something like this. There's multiple ways to do it. You can do one-way traffic on either side, even though maybe that's not the best way to say what it is. But some other test cases have two-way traffic on both sides, and obviously you got to see what fits and what flows best, but this is a concept of what that larger park could look like. Here's some examples again. Daybreak has this. I think we've all seen the success of the community of Daybreak. I think many of us might know people who live there and enjoy it. This is the example in Denver. And again, different traffic patterns, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like as we talk through conceptually what we'd like to build in the area for future residents. So this breaks down those housing types, and I've got another slide that shows better what that looks like in a more granular fashion. But again, there's a mix of single family. They are small single family lots, but we think that fits really well out here. We've heard the market demand for that. There's interested builders who can build the products and the pictures similar to what Chris showed. And then I think you guys are familiar with the other product types of townhomes and apartments and duplexes. Here's an example of putting multiple product types within a singular city block. These city blocks are sized to meet Spanish Fork City's standard block size. And again, some courtyard housing with likely common space for those residents, townhomes, as well as single family, all within the same city block, and putting the denser product closer to the park, and again, orienting these buildings in a way that promotes people seeing the front of buildings and not seeing a bunch of parking, even though parking will be a part of this project, as there will be people with cars. So this is a snapshot of what that concept looks like. And then I believe that's the end of our slides. But really, yeah, like Dave said, I'll reiterate, we're eager to get your feedback. This is a discussion item. This isn't an approval item, and we'd love to know what the council and what the residents want to see as Spanish Fork doubles in size over the next 24 years.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask Clayton to go back a slide or two, and maybe Chris would want to weigh in on this as well?
This one?
Starting with this one, so can you maybe talk through the different colors here? And then I appreciate that the illustration on the next slide just provides the same level of detail, a little more granulars. For me, this is a big part of what we're here tonight to get your thoughts on. And I know these folks have put a lot of thought into where those, kind of 4 main types of housing would be located. Can you just kind of talk that through with everybody and maybe, I know you've put thought into it, explain why things are where they are?
Yeah. With the goal of making sure that this is a walkable neighborhood that feels like it's scaled to the people who live there. Again, not encouraging everybody to drive through, but really this being a place for this community. Really fronting the greatest density along 400 North, because it is immediately adjacent to the station area. So that's where you'll see the darkest colors is that first block north. The dark oranges on the east and west extremes, those would be the highest density that we're proposing, which is 30 units per acre. So that's the 3 or 4 story walk-up apartment kind of development. It gets a little bit less dense as we get to Linear Park, because we're lining the Linear Park with that townhome product. Again, extending the townhome product up to the north along the Linear Park. And then from there, we're feathering the density out toward the edges, east to west. I will say that there is one larger, higher density space up on the northwest side, just kind of south of the community park, if you will. We think that's a better opportunity for more density, primarily because of the railroad tracks. I'm not sure how many homes want to back up to the railroad tracks, so I'm thinking about that as an influence. But again, it's a gradation. It's trying to taper the density so we don't get just block after block of one product type, because the danger, and we see it all over Utah, the danger is if you do the same product type, you're going to get the same building, and it's not going to feel like a comfortable space, a place that we really want people to really feel an attachment for. So, does that cover your thoughts, Dave?
And I like the next image too, Jack. Just in terms of giving a little bit more feel to. Here we're seeing footprints of some of the larger buildings and lot layout.
Yeah. And I will say on this, so we're showing 10% open space in the Linear Park and the park to the north. What that doesn't account for, though, is what I would call HOA open space, which is those courtyards. You'll see a number of areas in here with the gray hatch. Those would all be expected to be open space, so front yard space for folks who have the smaller units, and then single family homes facing streets. So we're pulling some of that density interior to the block, creating some pretty comfortable spaces. It's not for everybody, but there are folks out there who are looking for that shared wall unit type. So that's the idea.
Maybe one last comment from me, just to provide a little bit of scale to what you're seeing there in terms of the grid that Clayton described. The block sizes there are really close to the block sizes that surround us here in down Spanish Fork, the historic.
Is your mic
roughly
on?
400 by 400 foot. I'm just too far away. Okay. Sorry. 400 by 400, give or take. So
That's super helpful in my head, because I'm so bad with, like, how big are these blocks? Am I walking 3 miles to that park, or is it really just 3 blocks?
Yeah, it matches almost exactly the neighborhood just to the east of I-15. So we were pretty thoughtful about wanting this not to feel like an enclave, but that it could be an extension of your city grid. If this gets annexed, there's probably a pretty good likelihood that grid will extend up to 1,000 North. So just really thinking about the future and not building, again, a gated community, but something that really blends into to Spanish Fork. The other thing I wanted to mention on here that now, another thing that we thought about was that grid and where streets connected across 400. So this does align well with the station area, but what it also aligns well with are some of the property lines for folks who may not be interested in doing any redevelopment up front, not putting roads directly through their properties. So this can be developed in phases so that Clayton and his group and anybody who wants to partner with him can do something thoughtful and meaningful without impacting negatively folks who maybe aren't interested today in making a change.
Thank you.
I have a lot to say,
I'm happy to jump to any slide.
but I hate to go first.
She has a lot to say.
No, I don't. I hate going first. 'Cause then
I will just tell you, I'll go first, but it's just one thought, I guess, that is, because you said to try to be more specific to giving you feedback on parks and design of homes that you're.
Housing types, parks, roadways, yeah, all of that.
The linear park, at first blush, I thought was the worst choice out of the parks you gave me. But I guess it's working on me a little bit.
And there's pros and cons to all of these, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Central Park kind of creates more of that destination, but like Chris maybe alluded to, could maybe drive people from the rest of Spanish Fork. Like I think of me, like I drive to the All Abilities Park because it's massive and fun and worth driving to. People drive to that park from all over the South Utah County. Versus the Edge Park's probably my least favorite, but some benefits, you know, keeping.
I think my favorite linear park is the Washington Mall. That's how I envision a linear park.
And this is much smaller. I will say that. The Node Park.
really good one in Savannah, Georgia. I keep thinking about too, but I'm like, I don't think it's this skinny.
Do you know the Edge, or not, the D.R. Horton, Saratoga Springs Legacy Farms development? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's right across from the temple.
Yeah.
In that area. Is that similar to what you're, size-wise, that you're looking at?
So I know.
The linear park?
Yeah.
I don't know the size of that one. I know this. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I know the Daybreak one is really similar to this size, right?
The Daybreak one is wider.
A little bit wider.
Yeah. And this actually.
You're talking 60
Okay,
feet there?
so
You're talking
that's-
58 feet?
Yeah. So this one is probably closer to where we have drawn it now. So this again is in Denver. It is an activated space. It could be better activated. If it were wider, the Daybreak one, they actually put active seating areas in, volleyball courts. So we are more than happy to work on what the width of that needs to be to make sure that it is a space that gets used, and not just a pretty linear front door for the house.
But you're saying a public park. You're saying it maintained by his department.
I'll let Dale react to that on his own.
Well, the reason I ask, we have linear parks, and they're under power lines because that's what we can put there, and the neighborhood uses them because I mean the power, that park up by you, that power park, it's one of our cooler parks ever.
What power park, the linear?
Not as much as other parks.
But I guess where it's growing on me a little bit is just envisioning, the trail that goes down the linear park, and now somebody, kids being able to get from the front of that subdivision to the back of that subdivision, or wherever they live, and being able to be inside that park rather than just on a sidewalk of a street.
Yeah.
It just feels like for that much space you could walk 4 blocks and get to your home that's back there, and that's not on a street. So
Yeah,
I guess
think it connects the community and guides people for the future, right? It's a greenway to the station area as well for people walking to public transit.
Yeah. Dale, I'm curious your thoughts on stuff like that.
Yeah, my only concern here, and of course, yes, these would be maintained by my department. My only concern there is that there's some playability, because if you do the math based on what our master plan calls for a development this large, there's a lot more acreage than what you have shown here. By the way, I've never seen a developer that said, we're gonna look at parks first. You guys I like these guys, just for the record. I've never seen that happen before. It's always an afterthought. And it's really what makes up the heart of the community, right? It's what we're about. And so I love that you guys are looking at this. I don't mind the linear park, but if it's not big enough, it just becomes a large trail.
Yeah.
So a large, beautiful trail that people have access, and I'm not opposed to that either. But I think there needs to be, because of the way our master plan calls for, and I don't expect you to build 15 acres worth of parks, which is probably what that would call for. I think you said 3,000 people. Did I get that right? What's your number?
Beyond that order.
Yeah, somewhere around. It doesn't matter, but so, and we're not expecting that. We just want them to be distributed so that they're within walking distance of every single resident, right? We want the kids to have a place that they can, and I love the access. Whether we need to create another smaller park somewhere else.
And like Chris said too, these internal streets. So as that zoomed in piece of courtyard housing, all the hatch there, and between the townhomes, those would be HOA managed open spaces.
Oh, okay.
Which all connect to that linear park, which is awesome. I do like that.
Okay.
Design.
But agreed, like, yeah, we're looking for feedback on how to program the park. I know in DRC we talked about how, yeah, you can put playgrounds in linear parks. You can program the space to be well utilized, because the last thing any developer or city wants is a park that no one uses.
Right.
I wrote down with the linear park, like just kids running around kicking balls, like
Between streets.
Yeah, between streets, or balls going out into roads, and fitting a playground there. That's too small to have a playground, most likely.
Playground would go on your neighborhood park, which is
Yeah.
at the north, right?
Yeah, and Chris's team has really thought through that right of way. So where it connects into a single access onto 4th North, the intent is for that to be the least driven road in the community, the most walked road. So the other connections into the station area are the connections that get you eventually onto the freeway faster, to the station area faster, if you're in a car looking for either to get on the freeway or to get to the parking lot for the station. Again, designing that, and then the actual use. We're currently underway in the traffic study that the council requested, so there'll be more on that later, but that's the intent, for it to be less used by cars.
To your point, Stacy, like one of the things that, as I was looking at these concepts, is I actually like the idea of a linear thoroughfare. I don't know what you want to call it, the park, you call it linear park, but I would like to see it mixed with some of the node concept that you have in there, because I think that helps solve what you're saying. Is it gives an area, and they're smaller areas, but they're opportunities for kids to play kickball or to go and throw a baseball with their friend or whatever, instead of having to go all the way up to the park. Because to your point, Mayor, that you had said it's 4 blocks up or down, but it's also 3 blocks east and west to that linear park. So I think that it would be helpful to have some of those parks spread out throughout the community instead of all just condensed in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's courtyards, I understand that, but I even think that if you lose some of that courtyard space and make some more of these node type of parks, I would much prefer that than what we're seeing.
I prefer the linear. I like the linear. I can just envision what that would look like with the green space, the open space that already exists in between the units, that you can walk on a green space to get to the linear park, and then you can go north or south if you're trying to get to the station area, or if you want to go to the neighborhood park. I don't envision the linear park being the park that kids go to play on. If they're going to go to a big park to play, they're going to go to the neighborhood park, or they're going to drive to the Olive Abilities Park or something. For me, it's almost it's a safe place for kids to move one direction, north and south, without being on a sidewalk or on a road. That's the way I envision the linear park. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see where it goes.
Yeah,
Clayton, real quick, before I forget my question. With your single-family units, what's about the largest lot size that you envision for a single-family home in this project?
So I'll just jump to this that Chris's team put together. Largest lot size, we haven't gotten that granular. I know from builders who have reached out to me about really anywhere in Utah County where they can find a 4,500 square foot lot or smaller for single family. A number of cities are analyzing an alley-loaded small, like some are even talking 35-foot wide lots. Not super deep, but that product type can be really attainable. And I know there's groups building things like that in Ephraim, in Daybreak, in other areas. And I think as far as what's the largest and what's the smallest, like I said, we haven't gotten there, but I know there's demand for as small as 30-foot wide single-family lots or as large as the 6,000 kind of standard, but then you lose some efficiencies. So where builders I've talked to are talking is in that 4,500 square foot range.
Have you guys looked at or considered for this project mansion homes where you've got 3 units within a single?
Yeah, so this, the duplex, triplex, quadplex, looking, and what's cool on these blocks, and I know I'm jumping everywhere, but when you see this can kind of show you some of those courtyards. They could be 2 duplexes, they could be a 4-plex that's not stacked, but we haven't gone into that level of detail of lot sizes but Chris's team has laid out lot sizes that can fit within these city block sizes. So
this is very different from what you had shared in a prior meeting where you talked about a home that could be built with a foundation that eventually could be added to, right? You
could do that on these single family.
Are you still considering doing any of that?
It's just an interesting product type that is more attainable, and I think there's builders who would build that if they could here, but it's not something we're married to. But I think it is something that seems to be a pretty affordable play.
How many property owners are there besides GWC within this project?
Yeah, so
area?
we own 53 acres. Again, I'll jump back. So we own, 53 acres, those red parcels.
So you're about half.
And then, there's 2 more property owners, as well as 2 1-acre parcels that the family we bought from still has, but we have an option to purchase. And then I know we've also talked about expanding this by 6 acres to the east to include the
corner in the
corner there. Clay Grant, he's open to joining. And then I know Dave has talked to everyone northwest of here, and I believe they're all probably another 30, 40 acres that would be interested in joining.
Dave Simpson, you're talking about? Yeah, Dave Simpson has expressed some interest in having properties to the north and
kind of squaring off
west
1050 west and 1000 north.
On the other side of the railroad tracks there.
But I don't think they're looking to develop in the near term.
Maybe one piece on the housing type. I know, Dave, you were asking the question about that idea. I think it's kind of a interesting use of maybe our complete neighborhood type of philosophy in a different way, but it does have that kind of feel to it a little bit. I think sometimes when we think about townhomes lining a street, I don't necessarily always love that. Obviously, we're still in a very early phase, right? And sometimes that's because of the look of it, right? Or what type of product, the fascia, how it looks, right? You can change some of those things up to make it look more appeasing instead of just a line townhome, because we've all drove line townhome products and that are just look
blocks
terrible,
and blocks
right?
and blocks of the same,
I do like the idea of the mixed type of residential uses throughout the community, not just condensed to one area. Still trying to decide what about that top left corner, and obviously if you get more property, it makes maybe different sense because I like the way that you've put the condos on the bottom and then kind of worked your way up, but then there's this random condo use up in the top left corner. I don't know that I love that, but I do like that we're looking at that complete neighborhood. I really am married to the complete neighborhood style of projects right now, and if we have areas that we can do it, this is awesome, and this is a different way of doing that with a little bit higher density.
I'll go over some of my notes. I love the duplex, triplex, flex, is that what you call it? Yeah. And the variety there and the cottage homes with the open space in between. And I just felt like you guys were showing us a good variety. I like the grid system. I feel like Utah was set up on a grid system, and it just looks, oh, like I can do that. I could find a home. I go into some of these neighborhoods nowadays, and it is hard to find different homes. I think the land use density I liked. I liked the front yard with the shared open space, and then I'm still struggling with the linear park. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
We'll get you there.
Okay, Kevin loves it, so.
I think we could see more.
But it was really well thought out. Yeah.
Here's my thought on the linear park, because I do think I can just envision like I don't know, like Wolf Hollow Estates and that sign where you start split roads, and it's filled with homes behind it. But it seems like that's what you could do with a sign here, that
A welcoming sign as you come into this neighborhood.
yeah, splits roads, and now you got a park behind it instead of just homes. I guess my concern, and maybe this is going into too much of the stuff you said to not talk about things to get over here, but if we're directing, I feel like if this ends up being annexed and you do something here and get something going, I'm with you. I think it's years ahead of what comes to the south there, just because where we're at on the level of things for a Center Street exit. If we're inviting kids to get to that road of 4th North, what is there to be? What can we do with an overpass that goes over a freeway that makes that's not walkable today? Is there anything that can be done? I'm not sure that road width and the buffer that's on each side of those or whatever, but whether it's Jersey barriers and a sidewalk and something to get, because if we're just directing kids north and south into 4th North, I think they're going to want to become friends with the kids still in Kevin's old neighborhood across the freeway. And I just hate to see any of those kids trying to be on 4th North the way it is. Mm-hmm. And I know that's years down the road of development. Mm-hmm. Actually happening, but I think it needs to, for the connectivity of our city, and some of this connects to the north and gets you under the freeway. I agree with that. That's not too far from that other underpass, if you will, but where we really have a linear park to get people to and from that 4th North. I wonder if there's a creative way to think to make that safe to get across.
Yeah, this is the trail plan just to show of what, and again, this is a full build out, and likely with that interchange, there's something walkable through the interchange going over the rail and Center Street being an overpass over I-15.
Oh, so you got a green trail going on the west side.
So that's the current, but again, this is all full build out. That's what the trail system looks out. How do you connect a phased build? 920 West that comes down off 1000 North before you cross the railroad,
right,
is kind of the connection to move east as well as 4th North. But yeah, I love the idea of creative temporary solutions to make 4th North.
Mayor, to your point though,
walkable.
too, one of the things that's lacking, right, and lacking is probably maybe too strong of a word, is there's not a lot of places for kids to go to buy a drink or to do those type of things, especially today, or even to full build out, or a station area, which is 10 plus years potentially. Where
so they're going to do it.
So they're going back into town. So we've got to be very deliberate in how we're getting them back into town.
School's a walkable distance.
Yeah.
From this area here, I really appreciate the comment. I think that's something we need to look into. People are going to cross I-15 on foot. 4th North is the way they're going to do it most often, I think, and I think that warrants consideration.
Totally.
The last comment I have written down, just by way of, I guess, coming to a close of my comments, I don't know what other comments are there, is I don't love the bike in the middle of the traffic idea. Just throwing that out there. I didn't love I don't know, it was a bike lane. I think that's how it was.
It's parking.
Right. Oh, is that parking?
Bike lane, yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump to that slide. So,
When the sun's coming down. And
bike lane, parking
Oh,
lane,
okay.
drive
I
lane.
read it. Yeah. Bike lanes are always an interesting topic of conversation because where do you put them? How do you make them work? Right. And so, but I thought it was 2 lanes of traffic and a bike in the middle. I was like, oh, well, that seems like a terrible idea for just one place in Utah doing it.
Yeah, I will mention that one comment we got from DRC was making sure that we had fire access, and we actually widened this section in the last week to account for that, and that's why the bike lane shows up, because we need a certain amount of space to get the fire truck down with cars parked. So the bike lane allows us to have a purpose for that extra space, so you're not encouraged as a driver to be racing down a 15-foot wide traffic lane, but you're kind of dividing that up. Even if there aren't, if it's just a stripe on the ground, it still will slow people down.
For sure. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Clayton and Chris?
Mayor, I have 2.
Yep.
Chris or Clayton, with the station area plan, as I've looked at this overall, and of course we had a shot at some of this a couple of weeks ago, so I apologize for not thinking of this or talking about this earlier. Is there a place for or need for any kind of commercial, any kind of neighborhood commercial inside of this project? I understand its proximity to the station area. I hope or assume there should be some kind of commercial there too, and so maybe not, right, because of that proximity, but
Yeah.
can you speak to that?
Yeah, as I understood it, all the commercial was intended to be as close to the station and as close to the interchange thoroughfare as possible. There was one concept early in the station area plan that had commercial essentially in that, I don't have a pointer, but the green space that's Clay Grant, that 6 acres adjacent to us that would complete the area, that was at one point labeled commercial in one plan I saw. The problem there is 4th North is an overpass, and there's grade issues to be able to get a, turn and traffic to flow through a commercial area there. So I believe all the commercial was contemplated to be within the station area. That's not doesn't have to be that way. There's also, I think there's probably good use of commercial, especially likely on let me get to a slide. So that south westmost corner is a big interchange that's close to where the interchange comes through to connect to 4th North, and that's probably your most suitable commercial area as well. Would you agree? So could be contemplated.
And would you go back to, I think the image you were speaking to that shows the station area?
Yep. Happy to.
Yeah, that one. That's great. Thank you. And then I think, Mayor, to your point about maybe some interim trail or sidewalk, pseudo sidewalk access, connecting if there was a neighborhood. The 400 North corridor, as we know it today, is significantly changed when this happens, right? And so 4th North is now not the same road because, as you can see, if I'm coming from the west or going to the west, my main road actually is going to push me to Center Street.
I see.
But that's at full build out, right? So to assume that's today, if any of these things come to pass, right, that's a full build out. So one thing that you suggested, Mayor, I think is something we could look at if you want us to eventually. 4th North has 11.5-foot-ish lanes based on my measurements with the map system, right? 11.5-foot lanes in either direction, and then 5-ish foot shoulders. Perhaps without any adjustment, but only shifting the lines with a future overlay, at some future day, you could push both of those to one side and have 7 or 8, what would probably be close to 10 feet but by the time you have a little bit of a shoulder on one side and a little bit of a shoulder on another and some kind of a Jersey barrier, you could probably get a 5 to 6 foot walkable space that's on the other side of a Jersey barrier. It would be on just one side. You'd have to figure out which side you wanted that to be on. But you might be able to do something like that in the interim. In the long term, something like that may not be bad because the use of Fourth North is different.
Yeah.
Right. You are going to see Center Street become the main roadway here, which I think we probably want. Right. It's a 5-lane facility today. But that's something that can be explored. If you guys want us to look at that, we could look at that. That's a long-term thing, but I don't think you have to have structural change. That's me talking about a facility that I don't own. So
Well, and I mean, when I start to think about it too, it makes, I'm talking about, I'm not thinking about structural change of Fourth North. All of the east side up by where Jesse lives and where I lived, the connection was, across Highway 6, and until we had the Holiday gas station up there, we still found a way to get across Highway 6 into town, and it's not an easy one, but it happens. So it's not a novel concept connecting our communities and still being able to come in. I think it's worth exploring if that shift could happen. But I see a lot of families probably saying, hey, if we're walking to the gas station that used to be Bob's, you don't go across Fourth North to do it. You go up that trail that's on this side and then go under the overpass, the other way, and try to make that the preferred way, because that gets you to a lot of, you think about the Hive and places like that where kids are going to go, take that trail, go underneath the freeway, and now you're to a lot of places over there. You're to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
You're
pushing them to the north and over.
Push them to the north more than saying, hey, you get across Fourth North, you're to a church, and you're to the Brockbank School, but you're not to commercial stuff.
You can try and convince them to go that, but their kids are going to go whatever way they think is the shortest and quickest.
And the
other issue or the other concern besides just the overpass is there's no good sidewalk on the east side of that overpass for a while.
For sure.
So you have to, it's scary. The fact that you've got all these big Kilgore trucks that are driving 100% all day long on this Fourth North route. You've got these big trucks, and to think you're putting now more kids possibly riding their bikes or walking along this road, that's something we definitely have to consider.
I'll just say, I think, anything on Fourth North would likely be more of a temporary thing, and we're happy to do this with our traffic study consultant group, is approach UDOT and ask them, hey, what have you seen for safe, reliable, temporary solutions for overpasses? And I'm sure they've run into it somewhere in the state, and we can get the best practices from them. The phased build out. We want to do this intentionally, but we also know we're not building 1,200 units and a station area in the next year. It'll come over time and be built intentionally and safely, and obviously with your approval. So, thanks.
Yeah, and maybe there's some aspects of that that's like, hey, this is how many people you're going to have here, then it's going to trigger something. Maybe there's some aspect of that or something.
Yeah.
It looks like the land east, to your point, Kevin, I think the land east of I-15 and what you might call along the shoulders either side is owned by UDOT, it seems, from what I can see. So if that's the case, there's probably some possibility for connecting those sidewalks. A lot easier than otherwise. So that's a possibility, seems like.
Any other questions for the applicants? Thank you. Thank you for taking the time and putting this together. Hope you got something out of it from
No, we appreciate
us.
all the feedback, and
A split decision on
Okay.
linear parks is what I got.
Yeah,
But apparently
Hey,
it
but
can be
Kevin's
easily
gonna
swayed.
Kevin's gonna get Stacy there.
He
And
thinks
then
he thinks
what we
that
need
he's
is to
got
get
it.
Shane's perspective.
Yeah, we never know
actually,
what Shane's
I
thinking.
know. I'm sad he's not here tonight.
I'm not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming tonight. Thanks for sticking with us.
Mr. Mayor, I think there's going to be a good chance that we'll touch base with the council one more time
Perfect.
before there's a public hearing on the annexation. I don't know exactly what that'll look like, when it'll be. I think we're still months away from being ready to present this for action. So, maybe in the next couple of months, we're back with something a little different,
Great.
some more detail.
Dave, I'm curious, has Planning Commission seen any of this at all?
They haven't. We were going to share their presentation with them just offline and have at least a brief conversation with them in their February meeting, bring them up to speed, make sure they're aware.
Perfect.
I think I would maybe ask the council as I'm looking for feedback, and we'll let them listen in. This is a pretty big deal, right? As you considered the annexation, and I think the idea of do we even accept this for further study, right? A year ago, a question I think we were asking in our work session meeting at Midway, like, do we want to start anything? Do we want to talk about anything west of the freeway? There was some hesitancy for specific reasons, many of which we've talked about today. Here we are a year later. They've petitioned for annexation. We've accepted it for study. We're doing our studies that is informing their studies, which are, here are the issues, and you guys have to deal with some serious ones. Today it seemed like I was hearing from you, they're doing enough to say, keep going. You're not seeing something here that you're saying, I don't like this, stop. Because I think you want to know that, right? If we're barking up the wrong tree, please stop us because we're spending money on this, right? So you're saying, no, I think you're looking at things, the concept that you're talking about are at least enough that I'm interested in more. Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment of everything that I'm hearing from you?
It's fair in the point of design, but then when it comes to traffic, I think that's a whole different conversation.
That's true. Okay. So you still have a big concern about 4th North hitting Main? Okay.
Yes.
And so somehow is that alleviated if 4th North and 10th North, thank you, are connected and people can use either of those routes? Is that, with what you're seeing today, is that
Heading the right way.
that's as important as everything you talked about here? Maybe that's as big of a deal. So they need to figure out a way to connect 4th and 10th. Okay. Okay. All right. And that's helpful.
We were
feedback.
told not to discuss that.
Well,
We just talked linear park, so.
We're told that was off limits.
Clear as mud.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I think that's good. I think that's a good thought. I think we looked at what's already over there. I mean, there's things being dug and built every single day just north of the area you're talking about in development and traffic going that way. How do we plug this into that connected, to feel connected and do it safely?
For sure. And that underpass at 3rd West, 10th North, roughly.
Yeah, it's huge.
3rd West and 10th North, whatever. It's huge.
Huge.
It's a really big underpass.
Crossing just north of it. Clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, you'd think we could figure out a way to get the railroad ties that are literally right next to it.
Yeah.
Underneath it.
Right.
But
You would think.
we need Congress. Actually, no, we need a higher power than Congress.
So one more thought on the linear park. I don't know if you've got
Kevin, this is a
the
15-minute
cross section that
discussion.
shows the street cross section.
He's trying to convince you right now. He's not waiting.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think the more
and
you push,
really,
the less
I
you
guess,
get.
To your point, Seth and Dave, like we did want, should we further develop the linear park? Is this the type of residential products that the city's wanting to see in the next, when this does develop? So those are the main takeaways. And then I think, we heard loud and clear last time that we need to connect to 10th because 4th can't handle it, and that's in the works.
So go to the cross section, the street cross section.
Yes.
Right here. So looking at our linear parks that we've got underneath the power lines, they don't have sidewalks.
On the inside.
They've got a big walking path in the middle. So what if we
Mm-hmm.
use the sidewalks where the residents live, and we drop the sidewalks that are in the green space to give us more green space, and put a walking path up the middle of it?
Like a soft trail.
That's my
Sold.
only thought.
Just kidding.
Yeah. That way you've still got your buffers from the roads, 1-lane roads each way, your sidewalks, but then you're going to need more accesses to get to that walking trail from different locations. But, yeah, I'd say get rid of the sidewalks on your linear park.
I think that's a good thought. The other thing, to continue, as we continue to develop this, is how many crossings of this park are there?
Yeah.
3 is what's shown here. That middle one got nixed, but obviously making sure it's safe and accessible. But I agree. I was going to bring up the redundant sidewalks. There's definitely room there to do other things, especially if we follow the concept of what they've done in Denver with a soft trail. I know the parks in Salt Lake that have these get used a lot by runners, walkers.
Yeah, get rid of the sidewalks and plant trees where the sidewalks would be. So there's this massive canopy that you can just look all the way down the middle of these massive trees. That's my vision. There you go.
He's thinking he's going to see the
Those
U.S.
trees.
Capitol at the end of it.
I am.
but he's not.
I am.
Museum of Natural
We'll do a little
History.
mini one like they do in Vegas.
One thought, I was going to share this with Clayton and Chris offline, but based on what I've heard tonight, I think it'd be great to see what you could do with that much space by way of activating it and kind of doing what Dale suggested as well in terms of just making it as usable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited to take the feedback and iterate and make something, build a better community. That's our vision statement. I think I've told you guys that before at Clyde Capital Group. Building better communities is the end goal everywhere we go. So, thank you.
Thanks, Clint.
Thank you.
I don't know how big that park is you have up on the north side, but it looks like, 3 acres or something? It's not big enough for the amount of people that you have in there, is what I'm saying. So when Councilman Euler says, I just assume they all go play there, that's why I'm concerned about making sure that's a usable space and not just aesthetic.
Would you turn your microphone on?
Sure.
Thanks.
I'm done.
And would you talk closer to it?
Yeah,
He said, make sure if you got a neighborhood park that it's a park big enough to be used by everybody. That you could have you could have a football practice there. You could have.
But then to
people
that point, were any of the other suggestions large enough parks to be usable? If you, instead of the linear and you're just breaking out pockets, does that meet the need that you're describing? I don't think it does.
No, I mean, it's just a matter of usable space. So there has to be enough open space to handle 3,000 residents, right? When our master plan calls for 4.7 acres per 1,000 people. So technically, they would have to have 14 acres of park in here.
So Dale is saying none of the above.
This is showing 10%. Obviously, we have to comply with the city code and standards, and I think we get there when we contemplate the internal.
Yeah, and that I hadn't heard about. This is the first. I don't know what's in the courtyard.
Yep.
Is it grass? Is it brick? Is it what's in the courtyard? I don't know that.
To be
designed,
yes.
Is that open to public use from everywhere in the whole development, or is that just their own little private playground?
Considered more of an HOA amenity.
Yeah, that's when you said HOA, I thought, well, that's just limited to those people that are living there technically.
And I think that what we've shown is these deliberate connections from the linear park into those blocks. So technically, they would probably be HOA maintained open space, because I don't think that you want to take over a 50-foot sliver of lawn. But you wouldn't put up a gate that says no, but you can't come through here. It really did. I do think that we owe it to look at potentially some more open space. I think if you picked up a portion of that triangle that we're showing the density up on the northwest side, that would get us into a meaningful park size. And is that the right location? We can debate that, but it is intended that those open spaces would be accessible to anybody walking through. Now, they would feel like you're walking through someone's front yard.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit different of an experience. But the idea is, that neighborhood that has the linear park in Denver that we showed you has very similar kind of setup to their open spaces. So there's a bunch of HOA open space. I used to have a house in that neighborhood. I used the linear park to walk to the grocery store and the cafe every Saturday and Sunday morning with my kid when he was a toddler, and we were on that linear park. But we also connected. I had a 60 by 30 lawn panel out in front of my house that I shared with 5 neighbors, but anybody could come through it. So.
Dale wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't ask for 3 times as more park spaces.
Give me more.
Yeah, whatever show. Yep. More cowbell. I like it, Dale. That's why we're the Parks and Rec capital of the world. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other items that need to come before the council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Cardin, second by Councilwoman Beck to adjourn City Council meeting. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.